Uh, Thank you for being all here. This section is conducting by CHDHC. CHDHC means Center for Holistic Development of Human Consciousness, and they are doing Jeevan Vidya workshops online and offline. And apart from this, they are doing workshops on marriages, systems, and families, and natural farming, and mm, like parenting all on all these ones. Jeevan Vidya, what we learn, I attended in last December Jeevan Vidya. What I learned from Jeevan Vidya means universal human values, living with clarity, inner happiness. First of all, inner happiness and harmony ourselves and in our family, with society, and with nature also. It helped me a lot to handle with myself and with family also. I didn't practice with society. I mean, moreover with society and the nature. First of all, myself, I am okay, became a little bit calmer. And over the tel- over the years, CHDHD reached thousands of people through schools, colleges, and workplaces. And they did workshops in Anahad. Anahad, they did. I attended there, and they they are focusing on real life, like sustainable farming. They conducted on that one also. And today we are have section on parenting perspective. Pashwa Jwala madam is the she is the facilitator for this one. And in CHDHC, a lot of people who are it is formed by a group of people who are professors, doctors, and homemakers who are practicing these values from last 10 years in their daily life. They thought it is helpful for them. That's why they are practicing. They are doing for the society also. And about Pashwa Jala, ma'am. Pashwa madam is actually from Gujarat. And later, after completion of her education, she worked with Jiddu Krishnamurti schools in India and UK. While writing her thesis, she worked in England also. And then she has a deeply interested in exploring questions like what would be the real parenting. That means how that is the role of educator and that parents nowadays. And she has reading widely across philosophies, books on education and psychology, healing, and together with her husband, she raised two kids. One is 21 years, second younger one is 19. They didn't go to school. That means she did homeschooling only for those children. Like she educated them through life itself, from nature, questions, conversations, and diverse relationships. Play like that only they learn their life. Nowadays we are on rat race. Actually, our system is in rat race. We are in time frame. If for the time, if the things are not happen, we will get anxiety, hesitation, everything with the school bus. If school bus time is there, if kids don't get ready, that time anxiety. If kids don't listen, we get anxiety. That means what we do means we want to do the time, we want to finish the work. That means by bribing them, by scolding them, or uh, how we are raising kids nowadays means it's a challenge for us. Why? Because we are what it called. Uh, we are controlling our kids instead of building good relationship with them. And then and she offers conscious parenting support to the parents. And currently she is studying Madhyastha Darshan, where she finds the answers for all her questions. And she has volunteered and upcycling projects, co-hosted an annual craft week, event for children. And alternative health, yoga, simple living, nature, community living, and healthy relationship are among all this. And every half an hour, we will give the break. Once the presentation is finished, every half an hour, ma'am will give the break. That time, you can ask your questions, or in paper, pen and with you write your questions on paper, or you can drop your questions on chat box also. We will check the chat box, and you can raise the digital hand by every half an hour. Please stay in mute, and I will hand over the screen meeting to the Pashwa ma'am.
Thank you, Anupama. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
So can I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Is the screen visible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So hello, namaste, everyone, and welcome. Before I begin, I'm going to say just a few little small points. I think Anupama has done a good job of doing the introduction anyway, but I'll just say a few quick things. So one of them is that, parenting is a very diverse subject, and there are many ideologies and perspectives around it. What I'll be talking about in this session is one approach. It's the approach that my husband Jim and I took while raising our two boys. It's something that we felt was valuable and that resonated for us, and that's why we chose this approach. So although our sons never went to school, this is not about schooling or not schooling. It's not advice. It's not a prescription. I'm not going to tell you what you should do or what you shouldn't do. What I'm actually sharing today is a reflection, a perspective, something that we found very valuable in raising children with kindness and respect. And it's in that spirit that I'm going to be sharing with you. So, yeah. Just a little bit more about this session. As Anupama ji said, that every half an hour or so, we will take some questions. The thing is, I have a lot of aspects to share, and I would quite like to share as much as I can so that those who are unfamiliar with this approach can get a whole view of how it works. And we'll have a longer discussion at the end. I think we'll have time for that as well. If you have questions and all, as she said, please write them down and we can take them in the breaks and maybe at the end as well. So some of you, I'm sure, are very familiar with this approach and you will be practicing it in your own lives as well. But for others, it might be quite new and unfamiliar, and maybe you haven't thought about it in this way yet. So for those of you, if it's a lot of content, I would say, don't worry, just listen and just listen to the whole overview and see how much you can take in. Don't worry about all the little details because, you can go into a lot more detail than I'm going to give you actually. But, in the short time, I'm going to just cover what I can. And if any of you who don't know about this approach find it interesting, find it valuable, I'm very happy to recommend really lovely books and talks which you can, have access to. And also at the end of this talk, I will share the slides of this presentation. And I've also written like a small article or a summary of this presentation. So I will share that too. So just, relax and hopefully enjoy.
Didi,
Where am I
sorry to
speak?
disturb.
Sorry?
Yeah, Didi, sorry to disturb. Can you go a little backward or bend the laptop screen a little forward so that we can see you a little more?
All right. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Okay. So where am I speaking from? So I'm speaking as a mother who raised two children, two boys who are now 21 and 19. I've also worked in some schools. I've worked with some families, and I've read a lot on education and also explored a few philosophies. And all these have informed my thinking and my understanding. And there are too many people to thank and too many influences, right from my parents to obviously my husband, Jim, and my kids who've been very much part of this lovely journey with us. So, and everyone else who's supported me. But I'd like to mention three main influences towards this approach. And one is Naomi Aldott. And she's written a book called Raising Our Children, Raising Ourselves. It's a very beautiful, very insightful book. There's another book called The Continuum Concept, which is by Jean Liedloff. And I'll be referring to these two books during this session. And the third is Madhyas Darshan, a philosophy by Sri A. Nagraj, which I came across about 5 years ago. And that has really helped a lot in clarifying my thinking in all sorts of ways. So everything I share today is basically my understanding of all these things. I'm not saying that I know about all these things, objectively, but these are what I have got from them. And it's in that way and with my experiences that I'll be sharing. So now to start the session, I'm going to first talk about the basis for this approach. And to do that, I'm going to start talking about the continuum concept, this book I just mentioned. The author, Jean Lidloff, she's an American woman, she's a doctor, and she goes to live with a tribe in South America. And she's very impressed and very inspired by the way this tribe raised their children. What I found really interesting was that this tribe, they raised their children using no force, no disciplining, no rewards, no punishments. There were no rules, there were no exams, there was no encouragement. They just responded to the child's needs promptly, and they had a deep trust in them. The deep trust was based on the understanding that children are inherently, that means from inside, from within, all children automatically are social, cooperative, they want to understand, they want to do the right thing, and they want to be included, they want to belong, and they want to participate and join in a meaningful way. So I found this very beautiful and compelling, and I also see that it's true. And if we observe babies and young children, we can see that right from birth, right from young times, they're looking around, they're observing, they want to learn, they want to explore. They also try to imitate us in everything we do. And they want to understand. They're always asking questions. They're saying like, who, what, why, how did this happen? So they're full of questions. They're full of interest. And they want to join in all our activities, right? When we're making the bed or sweeping the floor or we're cooking, they're so interested. They want to join in and they want to be included. So I could see this very clearly was true. And yeah. So the Yakana's approach produced confident, cooperative, and peaceful children who experienced a high level of well-being. So for me, I found that really interesting and compelling because when my husband and I worked in some schools many years before we had children, one day my husband said to me, I don't want to be a policeman. And, I understood what he meant immediately. And I felt exactly the same. Like we didn't want to control children, to force them, to manipulate them, to keep checking on them. It didn't feel like this was something that nature would have done. Like it didn't make sense that raising children should be such a battle and such a battle of my will over their will and trying to control them and contort them. And it just didn't feel nice. But yet I had a very strong urge to have children. But I thought there must be some other way. So when I was in my 20s and I came across this book, The Continuum Concept, where they don't do this policing and they produce these confident, cooperative, and peaceful children, I was like, wow, that makes sense to me. And that's what I want to do. So that's why we approached it this way. So I feel that when children struggle or when they do what we call misbehavior, as adults we label it misbehavior, I feel three things are happening usually. One is some need of theirs is not being met. It could be a need for safety, for freedom, for respect. These are examples. Or they lack some information or understanding. They may not have understood why they shouldn't tear this book, or why they shouldn't bring mud into the house, or why they should clean their teeth, or why healthy food is important, right? These things, they haven't understood them yet. So if you don't understand something, you're not going to be able to do it, right? The third thing is they lack the ability at the moment. They may not have learned how to sit still quietly for a while. They may not have learned how to express themselves in a way that is peaceful. So many things. They've not developed an ability yet. So these are the three situations that I've observed where children struggle. And it's not because they're bad or their intentions are bad. So I like the way Naomi Aldott puts this. She says that, I don't want to get rid of this. So she says children are never inherently bad. And what parents often label as misbehavior, defiance, aggression, or not listening is always the child's best attempt to meet a valid need. Given their developmental stage, the tools and their circumstances, what they know, what they're able to do, things like that. So, and their emotional stability at that time. So they're never bad. And I totally agree with that. That really resonated for me. So if we accept this view, then we would want to try to be as loving, accepting, and kind with our children at all times. And of course, we would provide support, guidance, and clarity where needed, right? They still need some information. They may not know what is dangerous. They may not know what is right, what is good. So, of course, we would provide that guidance. But that guidance will be done through inspiring, through supporting, through helping them find their own clarity, and not through force and, sort of struggle and battle with them. So for us, understanding all these things, we were very clear that the relationship comes first. So our relationship with our children was the most important foundation of parenting. Everything else grows from this foundation of unconditional care. Whatever else we're doing, whether we're guiding them, whether we're doing activities, we're trying to teach them something, we're doing projects, we're planning something, whatever else we do in life, the basis of that, the root of that must be very stably within unconditional care. That mustn't be compromised. We were very clear about that. So when I say unconditional care, what do I mean? I mean a relationship where these values, these qualities are very much there. Affection, trust, and respect. These must remain constant, regardless of the behavior. I'm just going to say very quickly what I mean by these three terms. And it's not a sort of official definition. It's just my sense of them. So affection is a feeling of warmth, friendliness, acceptance. You know how you might feel with a friend or with someone you like. By trust, I mean we trust in the inherent goodness of the child in the same way that we trust our own inherent goodness. So nobody thinks about themselves as bad. I don't, and I don't know anyone else who does. We all feel like we are good. We might make mistakes. We might do things that are wrong, but we don't think that I am actually bad fundamentally. And I think children are exactly the same. And so that trust, if we have that trust in the child, then the way we parent our child, the way we approach the relationship becomes very different. Respect is seeing the child as an autonomous, whole, complete being, worthy of acceptance and care. So this is what respect is for the child, and respect actually for every relationship. So we respected all the children's full range of emotions, their choices, and their decisions. If the choices felt unsafe or incomplete, we can definitely offer support. We can have discussions. We can be clear, and we can give clear and gentle guidance or clarity. These are, of course, the role and the responsibility of parents or caregivers or educators. It's not like we just sit back and say, do whatever you want. No, these are very important parts of how we parent our children, because we are there in the position of a responsible carer. So it's not like we don't do those things, but how do we do those things? And that is the question for me. It's without blaming, it's without shaming, without manipulation, without even sarcasm or teasing, none of those things. So using no disrespectful strategies. Those will only harm the relationship and will not actually get the result we want in the long run. So obviously, if some behavior is dangerous or harming others, you might need to put a clear boundary, of course. However, I have found that if the relationship is good, then requests and conversations are usually more than enough. We don't have to struggle. In fact, when our boys were very small, they were just babies, people would often tell us, wait till the terrible twos. And then when they were 2, they said, wait till the fiery 4s. And then when they were 4, they would say, wait till the turbulent teens. And actually, we found that none of those were true. And actually, I feel like they aren't true. They're not inevitable stages of growing up. They are more an outcome of us not meeting some needs, not understanding them, and not treating them the way that human beings deserve to be treated. So, yeah. In fact, I feel any guidance or correction the child needs can be more easily achieved if the foundation of unconditional care remains intact. Yeah, we also know that, right? With friends and stuff, when we like someone, when we trust them, when the relationship is good and gentle, we're much more open to listening to them, to their advice, to their feedback, to their support. We're open to that, right? When we're in opposition, when we feel someone's rejecting us, we feel someone doesn't like us, and they're at opposition to us, then we don't feel like listening. And then everything is much more of a struggle. So we can also see this in our own relationships, that it's exactly the same as for us as it is for children. So when we give our children unconditional care, this is the message we give them. The message we give them is, I care about you. I'm on your side. You may need guidance. You may need correction. You may need information, but you are never rejected. The impact of unconditional steady care and acceptance. It creates deep security, a deep confidence, cooperation, emotional well-being, and an openness to life and others. Right? Obviously, if someone cares about you, they're on your side, you feel deeply secure. You feel confident that, yes, all is well in my world. And when all is well and your relationships are peaceful, you want to cooperate, you want to get along. Because as we said in the beginning, that cooperation is an inherent nature of ours. We want to get along and stuff. We don't want to, cause trouble. So this comes out more easily when we actually meet their need for steady care and affection. And of course, obviously, you have emotional well-being. Yeah, you feel relaxed, you feel happy. And when you feel relaxed and happy, you're much more open to life and to other people. You're more able to be generous. You're more able to try new things. You're more able to question things. You're more able to learn more easily. So I think a relaxed and happy child has much more potential to be its best version than if a child who is unhappy, who's feeling insecure, who's feeling controlled. Yeah. And when this affection and care are compromised, it can lead to fear, insecurity, loneliness, self-doubt, anxiety, aggression, and lying. So obviously, if we don't feel safe, we're going to feel insecure, we're going to feel lonely, that nobody understands us, no one's on our side. We might even have self-doubt. We doubt, am I worthy of being loved? Is there something wrong with me? It creates an anxiety, like, how do I meet my needs? I need to meet my needs, right? Because we want to feel safe. And then in trying to meet our needs because they're not met, we might be aggressive with people, we might lie, manipulate situations. And these are all outcomes of feeling like I've got to take care of myself. I may not know how, but I have to do it because nobody else is there with me. No one's helping me and I can't trust anyone else. So that's the outcome of compromised care. But if they are not compromised, children can grow into balanced, caring, and capable adults. And I've seen this, over and over again. So looking at ourselves, if we look at ourselves, and you can check this within yourself, I always want to feel safe, loved, and understood. And even at those times when I make mistakes, when I do something wrong, when I don't, make mistakes, I never want anyone to reject me. I still want them to know that I am essentially good. And children are fundamentally the same. When I grew up and I was an adult and I worked in schools and I, became a parent as well, I remembered very clearly what I felt as a child. I had that memory very strongly. And what I remembered was that, I had lots of adults in my life who were very caring, who I knew wanted the best for me. Some teachers, some family, extended family. I knew that they were trying to help me. They wanted the best for me. They wanted me to live right. I have no doubt about that. But when they use certain methods, maybe scolding, maybe ticking me off, maybe talking to me in a certain tone of voice, what I experienced wasn't this feeling that, oh, I'm so glad they told me that. I wanted to learn that lesson. I didn't feel that. What I felt was small, silly, wrong, ashamed. I just felt like embarrassed, all these things, because, I felt like I was wrong. So this made me realize that, okay, there's quite a big difference between the intention of what we think we're doing with the child and what the child actually experiences. So I realized that when I want to help a child, when I want to communicate with the child, what do I want? I want my message to reach them. If I want to help them, I want them to be helped. I want them to feel, cared for and they were supported to move to a better direction, right? I don't want them to feel silly and small and ashamed. So what can I do? So I realized that, yes, I might think I'm doing something great. We often think like, I didn't say anything wrong. I only told the truth. The child needs to hear this. I didn't say it harshly. I was kind. We may think we're doing all these things. And our intention is that. I have no doubt about that. But what is the child receiving? We look at their body language, we look at their face, their voice, their, how they're behaving. And then we can see what the child's experience is. So I say always check the child's experience. You will get a clear answer as to what you're doing and how that message is reaching the child. So I felt all this led to one thing. The journey became less about changing our children and more about changing ourselves. Because how can we raise children who are balanced and caring and harmonious if we ourselves are not living that? If we don't know how to live like that, how can we inspire or educate anybody else? Right? If you want to learn maths, for example, and your teacher doesn't know maths, you're not going to learn much maths. So I felt it was about us self-regulating ourselves, disciplining ourselves, balance. We're living with balance. We're embodying the qualities we want for our children, whether it's respect, affection, politeness, consideration, engaging in life, participating in a balanced way, all these things, all the things we really deeply wish for our children. We have to do those ourselves. And when I had my first child, I realized that, I can't put off this way of being, saying one day I will become wise, one day I will become balanced. I realized that if I didn't do it now, it would impact my children. And so that journey, that what I call it, my spiritual journey in some ways, started at that moment, much more urgently, I think. So here are some of the qualities in a healthy relationship: affection, respect, trust, honesty, understanding. And it's not a complete exhaustive list, but it's just some words to give you a sense. So mistakes and repair. So as parents, we are definitely going to make mistakes. I've made many mistakes as well. And, because we're not raised, we don't know actually how it is to talk with respect. Most of us have been brought up on rewards and punishment, force, discipline, rules, punishments. So we don't know what it is to live in a different way. So we may have the intention to live like that, but we're going to make mistakes along the way. There, I feel the role of apology is very important and very valuable. So I feel when we apologize to a child, we tell them, I didn't want to talk to you harshly. I didn't want to scold you. I didn't want to be impatient with you. I did it because maybe I was overwhelmed. I was tired. I was distracted. I have learned bad habits of communicating, which I need to work on. So I say that I'm sorry I did this, and that's not how I want to treat you. This conveys 3 messages. One is it shows that we are taking responsibility for our actions and emotions. And that's something our children can learn as they get bigger as well. The second is that it removes blame towards the other. So child doesn't feel that they are deserving of this kind of treatment. They are not deserving of it. Something in us is falling short, and we are not able to be the way that we want to be. And the third is it reaffirms that our intention is still one of acceptance. We're not rejecting them, and we don't want to treat them like that. So this is I felt a very good way to create repair in the relationship. And children are so forgiving. They're always like, Mama, Papa, it's fine. Of course we understand. Don't worry. They've always been very forgiving with our mistakes. And I feel partly it's also because they feel so relieved and happy that, we don't want to treat them like that they are not deserving of this. It's some error in us that made this happen, but they're willing to forgive that if they know that, okay, they are still accepted by us. I thought I'd stop here for a few minutes and just see if anyone has questions and comments. And if not, then we can carry on.
Yeah, I think those who have questions can raise their hand. Then we'll let you speak.
Anupama, will you take the questions? I mean, will you unmute people and stuff?
Yes. Shrikant Pursarla. Sir, you can ask your question.
Namaste, ma'am.
Namaste.
I think when you started, right, you started giving an example of one community. Is that a tribal community? And how they raise kids, right?
Right.
I agree with the tribal community and the community now where we are living now, right? Mm-hmm. Even I feel safe when I live in a far far off from a very forest or a tribal area where there are fears of jungle or animals, but but not fears of social fears, like, right? So these fears, in general awareness, the where environment we live are actually far more dangerous than the living in a forest. That is my feeling, right? So my our mindset, we cannot live with trust with them. Even though when I leave trust with them, there are outside forces are.
Yeah, Srikanji, can you please come to the question? Keep it brief. Thank you.
How do you relate that environment living in a forest and present society? How to handle it? Yeah.
Right. So I would say that, I think there are different dangers in living in a tribe, in a farm, in a forest, and there are different dangers here. But I feel that whichever situation we're living in, without trust and respect for the child isn't even going to learn how to deal with the dangerous things. So I'm not saying you don't help them deal with them. And how do we help them deal with it is through clarity, through conversations, through discussions. And of course, you don't want to let them do something dangerous, like you won't let them, do something which can harm them or harm others. But those are actually very few things if you actually go to look at it. Most of the time, we're controlling them for small things. We don't trust that they can tidy up their room or they haven't done their homework. A lot of the things we use to control our children isn't actually for something very dangerous. And we become used to controlling them in a way that causes friction in the relationship. And I mean, I will talk about actually how a lot of social issues also can get resolved by actually allowing them to trust themselves and by being a model for them in that. I will talk a bit more about that later.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Narendra K. Agarwal. Sir, you can ask your question.
Thank you. Namaste, ma'am.
Namaste.
So I have two kids, 1, 7 and 4, right? So as you mentioned that we need to inculcate those trust and everything. So I try to do that basically, I think after attending, thanks to Jeevan Vidya. But the point is, I live with my parents as well, right? And obviously our thoughts, like me, my wife, and then maybe my parents, right? They think that when I'm trying to do that, there is that conflict that comes in, right? Because they look at it as I am trying, like, what do you call it? I'm actually spoiling children basically, right? Because I'm not saying anything, right? So those conflicting things comes in basically, right? And then if I try to make a relationship better with my kids, I think the relationship with my wife and parents get affected maybe, right? So that kind of conflict actually I'm saying, I don't know how do I explain further, but that's constantly running where unfortunately, even though I wanted to tell it maybe more smoothly and convey, but sometimes I need to be showing that I'm an anger or something with the kids, right? So that's the conflict I'm actually with. I don't know if you can help me say something there, but yeah, that's just want to follow.
Right. Yeah, I do understand. I mean, I think a lot of people even around me and my, in my community didn't understand the way that I was parenting. But I think that for me, I didn't want to compromise the way I was with my children to show anyone else because it didn't make sense to me. So what I did instead was I still stayed calm and polite with the children. And what I did is I tried to stay calm and polite with the other people also. So even if my aunt or my, anyone in my family didn't agree with this, I would try and understand because they don't agree for a simple reason is they have not been brought up that way, or they have not thought about these issues, or they don't understand it in the way that I'm understanding it right now. So being gentle with them as well is a very powerful modeling for your children, that even if someone doesn't agree with you, someone doesn't, they're doing something different. I think even by me and my husband behaving in a certain way with our children, because they've been in the world just like any other child. They've seen other people, they've seen people shouting and ranting and being rude and, ignoring them. They've seen all that. But there's been a basic security in knowing that my parents will not compromise me. I can trust them. And I think that trust, I feel, is so very important. And it doesn't matter, actually, if other people agree or don't agree. I don't feel like it's important. I mean, I feel it's very important to protect your children and their well-being because that is my responsibility. And we can still be polite with everyone else, but we don't have to follow their methods if they don't make sense to us. Does that?
I don't. Yeah, but the point is actually to put all this, actually, we need a lot of time actually. And then we're already all time constrained basically, right? So we try to put that time on children. And the point is when the parents also don't understand, right? Because the problem is my parents, they take it when they start are looking at natively, right? The frustration because we really don't have time, and then even if we try to explain, sometimes the elders are not amicable to like we telling them, right? They think that now you're telling me like how to raise children, for example, right? So it's very complicated basically. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'll try to see how I can put in through. But that, I mean, mainly I think the frustration we cause is because of the time only. I think we, as you said, probably we need to be more gentle, and then maybe.
And you can also tell your children that, somebody, they feel uncomfortable if you do this. Like I would tell my children, if other people needed something, I would not tell them they had to change, but I would tell them the information so they can also consider that, okay, my grandmother needs this or my grandfather needs this. That's not a bad thing for them to hear also, so they can consider other people, or at least know why you're doing what you're doing. And the other thing I really found helped a lot was, the more I was close and, attentive to my family, the more relaxed they became and the more open to listening to my ways, because they didn't feel rejected. They didn't feel like, oh, I'm following this new thing that, I'm not including them, or I feel they're wrong. Because a lot of people feel insecure that, okay, she's following something different, I must be wrong, or she might think I'm wrong. So I think the more you can improve your relationship with them and make it cozy and loving, the more relaxed those people also become. I think it affects them as well as children.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Kunal. I'll try for sure. Yeah. I think I understand, and that is there basically. But yeah, to me, I think time is a very hard constraint which we have, where we don't have patience to explain them those clearly, and that's where I think the conflict just grows rather than subsides. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Swapna Obul Reddy, you can ask your question.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. So most of the, the answer I got was from the previous question, which Narendra ji has asked. And just, ma'am, one more thing I would like to just ask is, so my husband also believes in kindness and respect, and relationship comes first with regards to our son who is 6 years old. But I'm more of a person who believes or who follows, like, the child should have discipline. So, ma'am, how do we ensure that the child is disciplined as well while we are treating him with utmost respect and kindness?
So I felt like, for me, I felt it was very important to keep life simple when they're growing up, when they're 5, 6, 3. To them, discipline isn't something that's important. So they will grow into it as they get older. And I think if you're living a disciplined life, if they start understanding, see, what is discipline? Discipline is knowing what is the right thing to do at what sort of time, right? And what is good for you to live in a right and orderly way. That is what I call discipline. And if we don't understand, then the discipline can only be imposed. There's no other option, right? Because if I don't understand something, I will either do it because you're forcing me to do it, or you have to wait for me to be to learn the discipline. And I feel like if you try and teach children discipline, it is harmful. I feel it's just not good for them. So like when they were growing up, we kept things very simple. Like we kept no junk food in the house. We kept all the things that were breakable out over the way, so they could really explore and be free, right? And then say we want them to go to bed early. We didn't force them to go to bed early because I feel it's an aggression actually to force children to do anything. So what we did is we made the atmosphere conducive, because that's where our leadership comes in. I put the lights low. We got into bed ourselves. We may offer them a massage or a story or have cuddles. So we create an atmosphere where they could go to sleep as soon as they were ready. But we didn't force them, say, now it's time to sleep, now it's time to eat. And even with food, like we had healthy food lying around. And they ate when they were hungry, and they ate how much they were hungry. We never said, eat one more chapati, or eat one less, or eat for my mother's love, or the aeroplane is coming. We let them trust themselves. And I think when you let them trust themselves, a deeper discipline comes, which we don't know about. That they trust their bodies, they know their hunger signals, they know how to express themselves. And deeply they learn that what is discipline is also to treat other people with respect. And that they also learn from us if we respect them. Otherwise, we create a lot of harm by thinking, oh, the floor should be tidy and the socks should be picked up. But if they don't understand why, I would rather the socks lay on the floor and look messy for a while, and not compromise kindness and trust. That's what I feel. Then real discipline comes about, I feel.
Oh, thank you, ma'am. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Shaila Rohini Gopala. Ma'am, you can
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. So I was thinking about it's not a it is somewhat of a question, but more of a realization that you were talking about apologizing and how it is so powerful and yeah, useful when you have made a mistake. But I do remember and seen others also, like when we apologize, we say, okay, I did that, I did something wrong, but you were making a noise. Or I said those harsh words because you were doing this.
Right.
So
right.
in the end, we ostensibly we're apologizing, but actually we're blaming.
That's a very good point to raise, because I feel when we put things those way, that is not an apology. We're still saying, I did this, but you are the cause. You are the reason I did this. And I'm not taking responsibility for my own actions. Actually, if someone's shouting at me, screaming at me, I still have that power and that choice to not be rude and disrespectful back. So I think when we do that, we teach the child that actually somebody else is the cause of our emotional agitation or our bad behavior. And that's also a message we don't want to give them. So it's a good point to raise, actually, because that's not an apology. That's not what I would call an apology. It's not putting what they did in the picture at all. It's just like, I did this because I couldn't do better than this at this moment, and I'm sorry for that.
Thanks.
Chaitanya Chukkakula.
Madam, I have two kids. One is 18 years old and
I can't hear you very well. Sorry. Can you speak a little closer to the mic or something? Yes.
Hello. Okay, madam.
I can't hear you very well. Can others hear?
Hello.
Very
Hello?
little, ma'am. We can hear, but the voice is low.
Clear, madam.
Clear now, but
it's
you
better
can.
now. Yeah, it's better. Come, you can try.
I have two kids. One is 18 years old and another 20 years old. They often talk lies and aggressive and very comfort zone. How to tackle them?
Right. So I will talk about some of those things later. But basically, when they lie, when they're aggressive, aggression is basically some need of theirs is not being met, and we are not understanding their need. So they don't know how to, like, say we shout. We're shouting. Why do we shout? Because someone's not hearing us. They're not understanding us, right? If someone understands us, we don't need to talk loudly. We can talk in a normal voice. So aggression, lying is also a classic sign of not feeling safe. See, if I do something wrong, I make a mistake, I'm only making a mistake out of innocence. But if I do something and, you shout at me, then next time I don't want to be shouted at. So next time I will say something, start saying a lie because I don't feel safe. So I will go through these a little later in the sessions also, saying that, what are the ways to see some of these behaviors and how they, how we can change what we do to make them feel safe so that these behaviors only drop away.
Didi, we have 4 more hands, so would you like to continue or take questions?
Maybe I'll carry on for a little while and we can hold them for the next bit.
We can do that. Yeah, please continue.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
please wait. Those who have raised the hand, please wait. She will come back. Yeah.
Okay.
And Iti Sri, she asked, she don't know how to raise the digital hand. Ma'am, in React, you can go on, you can raise your hand. Option is there. Otherwise,
For
I will
some
take.
reason, yeah, it is hidden. Somehow I'm not able to. It's gone somewhere. So, shall I ask
Okay,
question
ma'am.
or?
Okay, later once ma'am finish that, Iti Sri, I will take question later. Okay, ma'am.
Yes. Sure.
Okay, so I carry on a bit. So I'm going to say a little bit about physical respect. So obviously we don't want to hit our children. We don't want to pull them around. We don't want to force them. But even with affection, we never forced affection. I see this quite a lot with children. People pull their cheeks, people hand them around to other people. And for us, we were very clear that we will not do something that the child is not happy with. So even we never demanded that you kiss me or you hug me. We were actually a very cuddly family. We had a lot of cuddling, but it was always mutual consent. They always were happy with it. If they weren't happy with it, we didn't do it at all. And I think even when they're babies, actually, people say that, how do you know? But when someone asks you, can I carry your baby? Then I would hold the baby towards that person. And if the baby wants to go, they will smile and they will, put their hands out. And then that the baby is saying, yes, I want to go to that person. But if the baby comes back into your chest like that and, cuddles up, you realize they don't want to go. And then I would just smile nicely at that person and say, actually, I don't think he wants to come right now. So we don't have to be rude to anyone else, but we have to respect the child even physically. And I think that creates a big trust in oneself. Like, there's this thing about good touch, bad touch. And parents always said, like, have you told your children about good touch, bad touch? And we never did. But what I felt is like, when you know that you can trust what you feel is right, then you don't need, in fact, they do surveys to show that children who've been respected physically are much less susceptible to abuse. Because when children are told that, oh, you have to go kiss that auntie and you have to go hug that uncle, and they don't feel safe, they don't feel good, but they realize that, oh, actually what I feel is not right because my parents must be right. I'm supposed to do things that I don't feel are right. So what you learn is that, okay, you can't trust yourself. You can't trust what you need to do. So when you don't have that trust in yourself, then when later somebody else is doing something inappropriate, you feel maybe I don't know what's best for me. You succumb to that abuse. So I think physical respect is also super important, and that's what we really were very strong about. And respecting emotions, of course. So all emotions are valid. Behaviors may need guidance. People, they may not know how to do things correctly, how to express things correctly, how to behave in the right way. But feelings do not need, they are always valid. Feelings don't need to be changed. And behind every feeling, there's a genuine need. And we need to learn to identify the need and to respond according to the need. Yes, okay. So here are some examples of emotions and the possible need behind it. So say shouting. Shouting might not be feeling heard or understood or respected. Crying, they might not be feeling safe. Anger might be a sign that they're not feeling free or, they can do what they want, their autonomy. And respect, safety, and autonomy are all real needs, and they're valid and they're universal. In fact, we all have the need for respect. We all have the need for safety, and we all have the need for some autonomy and freedom. The only thing is, later in life, we might realize how to meet those needs in a much more, balanced way. We may be able to ask for them. We might be able to identify our own needs. Children maybe can't identify those needs yet, but still those needs are there. And so they cry and shout and are angry and, are sulking or behaving aggressively. And so it's for us to understand, like, what is behind this bad behavior, so-called bad behavior. There's a need behind that. And once we get to identify the need, we can help them to fulfill that need. So for our boys, we allowed them to feel and express all their emotions. We showed care and support, but we didn't exaggerate or diminish their emotion, right? So when you feel something, we never said to them exaggerating is like if something happens to them, we don't say like, oh no, that's so sad, poor you, that's terrible, right? That's exaggerating. Diminishing it is saying that kuch nahi hua, nothing happened. It's nothing. Why are you making such a fuss about this? It's okay. It'll be fine. It happens to everyone, right? So diminishing is making it less than what they're feeling, and exaggerating is making it more, putting our own drama, our own masala. That's exaggerating. So both these don't allow the child to be with whatever they are feeling. That's a kind of disrespect also. It's like, say we have a friend and our friend says, my boyfriend broke up with me or something. And we say, oh no, it's okay. It's nothing. Don't make a fuss. It's okay. How would they feel, right? They wouldn't feel good. So with children, it's exactly the same. We don't exaggerate or diminish. We just were there with care and support. We understood what they're going through, and we're there. So we didn't impose anything. We also didn't fix it. We didn't find solutions for them, and we didn't undermine what they're feeling. And I feel very strongly that this creates really good emotional resilience, because when children are allowed to feel what they are feeling with our support, but without trying to fix it or, stop it, they realize that actually emotions are not such a scary thing, that they can feel them and they can move through them, and they can, they feel there's a confidence that comes with feeling that, I can deal with my emotions. So when we were respecting everyone, our children, I realized very soon that actually respect, the child is worthy of this respect and care. But then I realized that actually my children are not special. Everyone is deserving of this respect. And so I realized that I had to give everyone that respect, and I wanted to give everyone the respect. And also, children notice very much how we treat everyone. And respect has to be universal. It has to be for everyone. Otherwise, it's not unconditional. So I think this is a very important point, because how we live in this world isn't just how we are parents, but it's how we are as human beings, as how we are to everyone else. And if it isn't conditional, when children see that it's conditional, that, okay, my mother is nice to me, but she's shouting at the rickshawala, or she's, complaining. Sorry? Someone saying. So she's shouting at someone else, or she's, fighting with her colleagues or something. Then the child gets some anxiety, because the child realizes that, okay, today she's rejecting someone else. Today she's angry with someone else. Tomorrow it could be me. So it creates a sort of anxiety. The second thing it conveys is that not everyone deserves respect. So only some people are deserving of respect. They are special, but some people are bad. They're not good. They don't deserve respect. And that's definitely not a message I wanted to give my children, because I don't think that's true. So it made me feel even more that it's even more important to respect everyone. By respecting everyone, we also create a very peaceful world. We create harmonious relationships, and we model to our children how respect can be offered. So even if someone is shouting at me, or someone is doing something that I don't feel is good, can I still be understanding of that person? Can I still be calm? Can I still be polite? These are, this is for us to pull out of our bag the best version of ourselves we can be, and that helps our children to learn how they can do things better as well. So this other topic I want to talk a little bit about only is honesty. So children want the truth, and children naturally always tell the truth. When you find babies and very young children, they will tell the truth. They only start lying when they don't feel safe. That's one. And when we model dishonest behavior. Sometimes we lie without thinking about it, right? So we never told any lies. So, sometimes even I've seen in homes where someone calls on the phone and the person doesn't want to answer the phone. They say I'm in the bathroom, or say I've gone out, or whatever, right? So that's a lie. So we never lied to them about these small things either. And we never lied about big things also. We never told them about Santa Claus. We never told them about, the tooth fairy. We didn't do any of that. And, later when the boys grew up and I asked them, like, because, many people believe in the Santa Claus story for a while and it has a lot of fun for them. So I asked them one day, I said, would you have wished that we did do those things to you? And they were very clear. And they said, no, we don't want you to lie to us ever, and the boys have grown up very, very, very honest. They don't even twist the truth a little bit. And, they're also well known amongst their friends for being very honest, and people can really trust them because they won't lie. I also think that honesty is very good for clarity of the mind, for coherence of the brain. It's really good, I think, because we want to understand the world. We want to understand what is true. So how can you understand what is true if the way we live is full of lies and deceit and, some sort of dishonesty? So, and I think, of course, it creates a lot of peace of mind, right? You don't have to juggle honesty and dishonesty in your mind. You feel free and easy that, okay, I'm saying what's true and I don't have to worry. So yeah, I actually created a little break here, but I don't know if you want to break here or should I just carry on for a little while? What do you think, Hari Bhaiya? Should I stop or carry on?
Yeah, maybe 2-3 questions we can take. 3 hand
Okay,
raisers are
yeah,
there.
let me take a few. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Arunji, you want to ask question? Or Pooja Prajapati?
Arun, mute. You are in mute, sir. Please unmute and ask.
Yeah, you can unmute and speak. Yeah. Oh, just a second.
I'm audible?
Yes.
Very good afternoon, ma'am. Nice talking to you. My question is very clear. Like, if the child wants something which involves some financial implication, and he is so much wanting it, how to, and if we feel that it is not right in our part or appropriate for him, how to, give him the right suggestion. That is what my question is about.
Right. So I will talk a little more about this later, and I will even read out some examples which are very interesting. But basically, what I would say is like, it's not that whatever the child wants, they have to get, right? If you feel that this is something that's too expensive for the family to afford, or whether you don't want to spend the money on that, that's perfectly fine. And actually, children are quite resilient. They don't need everything that they want. The way to show them that they can't have it is to understand what they want. Suppose he says, I want to buy, I don't know, whatever the thing is, a car or, a toy or something, but it's too expensive. You can say, yes, like, I know you wanted that toy. It looked very exciting, or, so just validate their feelings. You hear them, you understand them. You don't say like, no, it's not important. You don't give your perspective. You understand their perspective. And when you keep doing that, they may shout, they may cry, but when they're done with the shouting and crying, they're actually quite at peace because they've been heard by you. This is really like, it really works well. I found it works so well with our children and with other children too, that what they want to do is, it's like they can handle disappointment. We can all handle disappointment. But if we feel the person who's with us, our parents, our caregivers, they do understand. And they do, they feel like, yeah, I do understand they're disappointed that you really wanted this. And, it's not possible right now, but I do understand that you wanted it. I think that really helps. And you be calm. See, if we get agitated, that causes the child to get also confused. Like, we can be very calm and say, look, I understand how you're feeling. See, a lot of what happens to us as parents is we get very agitated and anxious when our kids are shouting or throwing a tantrum. But if we can be calm when they're throwing a tantrum, then it really helps them to also slowly become calm. And I will go through many more examples of that. But it's a bit like, when children are having a big emotion, a big disappointment, they're having a lot of anger or something, they're full of this emotion. They're not sure how to deal with it. But if we as parents are hanging around them and saying, I'm there, I care about you. I know this is a disappointing thing for you and you can't handle it right now, but I'm okay with it. I don't see a problem. Then they also become calm. But if we become agitated, then the child feels that, oh, whatever I'm going through, this big emotion, even my parents can't handle it. My caregivers can't handle it, So then they get more shaken up. So I would say that just be calm with them. Don't worry. Even if they're crying or upset, it's not like it's going to cause some damage. You be patient with them and polite with them and understanding of them. Just be warm and affectionate, even if you can't give them the money for that thing.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
All right.
Itisri, you can ask question. Hello.
Yeah, hi. Yeah. Hello, madam. Yeah, my question is related to the previous thing that you mentioned about apologizing. So it happens, as you said, we make mistake and then we genuinely feel sorry and we tell them sorry. So sometimes, it goes up in my mind that are they thinking that, okay, even though they're happy, they accept, I mean, they feel good that, okay, I'm saying sorry. But then are they thinking that, okay, she's saying like this and then she will come sorry? Are they thinking like that? Sometimes that, it troubles me. I'm repeating this behavior many times. Many times I do this and then they sorry.
Right. I think even if you do it many times, I think if you apologize, see, the message still is that I don't want to treat you like that. I think that is a very important message for all of us to receive. Like, if I have, even my friends now, or my partner or anyone, my family, anyone does something to me that hurts me, but they say, look, I'm so sorry I did this. I know it's hurt you and I didn't want to do that. I feel very different. I feel, so it doesn't matter how many times you do it. Of course, I'm not saying keep making the mistakes. Of course, our intention is to not do the mistakes because we obviously want more harmony and we want to be good with them. And so if they can see you're trying, and so, you can be very honest with them. You can say, look, I'm really trying to stop this behavior, but it seems to be become such a habit with me that I'm finding it hard to break, but I'm trying my best. So maybe you can ask them to help you in some ways. Maybe you can say, Mama, you can remind me or something, you can tell your child to remind you or to someone else to help you, and maybe try and find some other ways to decrease the behavior, maybe meditate a bit or talk to a friend when you're frustrated. I will also talk about, a formula for helping us when we're triggered. So I will talk about that at the end of this session. So maybe that will also help you a little bit.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Soumya Reddy. Soumya Reddy. Then Maitreyi.
Yes, hi, ma'am. It's nice hearing you to acknowledge what we feel as parents every day. The question I have is, often kids play with other kids when in the play area, and then we see some group of kids being mean to our kid or hurting our kid continuously. So how do we handle such situations where they're getting hurt continuously, or they're feeling bad, but they still want to be around those group of people or group of friends? They're not actually bad kids or bad friends. It's just that it's the way that they are expressing what they feel.
So they're hurting them physically or hurting them emotionally?
With words. I don't want to
With
play with
words, right,
you.
right,
Yeah,
right. I think I mean, for us, we let our children decide what they want to do, right?
yeah.
We didn't tell them that because we didn't try and protect them. See, when you try and protect them, but they're
Right.
feeling okay, like they want to play, then what we're
Right.
teaching them is they're the victim, right? They
Hmm.
can't do anything about it. And, there's a bully and there's a victim kind of thing. Whereas with our children, like we never told them that anyone is bad. We didn't try and fix anyone else. But it
Right.
created a real strength and confidence in them. If your children are
Hmm.
choosing to be with them, I would say it's fine. I would say
Okay.
it's absolutely fine. Like,
Okay.
yeah, I'll give you some more examples later. They will come in this session, how
Okay.
how we did
Okay.
approach
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Soumya Reddy. Ma'am, Soumya Reddy. Sweta ma'am, you can ask. You can unmute and ask Sweta.
Namaste, ma'am.
Namaste.
We're parents, and I have 3 daughters.
Say
And
hi.
we have a very common problem that all these request lots of screen time. So, is there a kind of home remedy that we implement on day to day?
Home remedy.
Yeah, so that that reduces their screen time, please.
Yeah. I don't have a home remedy. I wish I did because
Mm.
it is a problem in today's day. It's quite rampant. I would say something about, like, firstly, I would feel if we can have a good relationship with our children, which is the first thing, then we can have conversations around it. With our boys also, we always had a conversation around it. We said, like, we wanted to give them only limited. We said 1 hour a day or something when they were younger. And, we had discussions about it. We said, like, what do you think? Like, should we let you do endless screen time? What do you think? Is this what you would let your children do? We had a conversation around it. And actually, then children get a chance to think through this. It's not just about us saying no and them saying yes, but can you create a conversation where they can think about it? So yes, it's very compelling. It draws them, it pulls them. But if you can have a conversation about what your concerns are for them, like, not like, oh, this is bad, but I'm worried that maybe you're not getting enough exercise, or whatever your concerns are. Have a conversation in a polite way, in a calm way, and see what happens. Okay, that's one thing I would say with our children, because
Right.
they were so free most of the time. We weren't saying do this, do that. When we said something is important, at that point they really listened. They knew that there was something behind it, because we weren't just trying to control them. So that was one. And the second thing I feel is, like, when you talk about screen time, what children want more than anything is connection and something inspiring. So often screen time happens because there's nothing else in place. We're living in houses, we're living in indoors, where our parents may be on the screen doing some work. So there's no one to interact
Right.
with, there's nothing to happen, right? I see with my own boys and stuff, if there's, people to play tennis with, or go out with their friends, or go for hikes or whatever, they want to do that, but they prefer that to the screen time. So often we're not creating enough of a life that's inspiring, that's interesting. Maybe offer to take them out, or maybe they have more friends. I think there has to be something much more inspiring. And if we are living a much more inspired life, like, some people tell me that we are in the city and we can't help it because that's how it is. But I grew up in a city, in a big city called Bombay, and at that point people used to come to each other's houses. We would invite friends, and we'd be part of the bridge playing and the chess and the music and the ghazals, and there was so much life. And even the sabzi wala would come and have a long conversation. So when there was life happening around, we wanted to be amongst our family and things that were happening. But when there's nothing happening, I think the screen is much stronger. So
Right. Yeah, definitely. We'll try that. And also, I believe that they've been watching us as a parent, being on screen more of, in a daily basis, which could be we can just get ourselves out of that first and
Absolutely,
then help them.
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, when my children were very young, there were no screens around. So that was easier for me. But I think today, if I was a parent, I would try very hard, if I had work and stuff to do, try and do it away from the child. Try to do it when the child is sleeping or when you're out of the house, and minimize your screen time at home, because it is a very addictive and attractive thing. There's no doubt about that. And, um, it's something that, but how, I think connection, inspiration, those are things that can help to lessen the impact of the pull towards the screen.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you, ma'am. Great.
Pooja Prajapati. Ma'am, you can.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Sometimes my both children, the elder one is 3 years old and younger one is 5 months old. They both start crying at the same time, and at that time the situation becomes worse. And then how to make my elder one understand that this time the younger one is to be taken care first.
I mean, I think it's a kind of a difficult situation for you if you have two young ones and you don't have support. It is a bit tricky. But I think, I mean, I haven't been in that situation, but I think, often when we do this with our older child, we say that, the younger child has to take priority. It actually creates, because the child doesn't understand, the 3-year-old also needs your attention. And often that creates a resentment towards a younger child, and that often contributes to sibling rivalry, sibling tension and strain later on. So I would, say that if you can find some help of some sort for a little while, because, just for a few years when you need, because the children are too young to understand. So I think if you can find some way to get support, I think it would be useful. And otherwise, if you really can't, then you can tell the older one that, I would love to be with you right now, but the younger one can't, sorry. The younger one can't understand right now, but as soon as he's quiet and calm, I want to be with you and I will be with you. So make sure that you give them the support. That's also another way to do it, where you don't feel like, okay, you must give it's not like you should give the priority to the young one, but you're saying, I would love to be with you. I know you're upset and I want to be with you, but since I can't do both at the same time, I will just deal with this. And the minute I have the space, I will come and, I will hear what you need to say and I will meet your needs. So that's the best I could offer for if you don't. But if you can get support where there's someone to hold the young child, the few-month-old baby, it will be easier, because the tiny baby doesn't mind where they get the comfort sometimes, but the older child needs you sometimes.
There is one question from the
Yes,
chat.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
This brings us actually what you
Sometimes my
suggested.
elder one, if I give instructions, she don't listen. Many times she listens. Sometimes it happens
that she doesn't listen to you. I didn't catch that. Can you say it again?
Yes, ma'am. My 3-year-old, sometimes I give the instructions many a times. So she didn't listen. Many times she listens also. So how could I make her understand that you have to do so?
Yeah, I think when they don't listen, actually, the truth is that they can't listen at that point. They don't have enough information. They don't have the ability. So actually, what we did is we created a very safe environment. I mean, I can talk to you later, maybe one-on-one or later, it's because I need to know the details of your what you're asking her to do, for example. Is it something she can do, or is there a way you can help her to understand that? Because that would make it easier to explain. But with our children, we actually kept the environment very safe. And actually, as they get older, we actually told them, don't listen to us. We actually said, don't obey us blindly, but we will make requests. And when we do, if you have a good reason why that doesn't make sense, then please let us know and we will talk about it. So our children were never obedient to us because we didn't ask them to obey us. We wanted them not just to blindly obey us, we want them to think for themselves and to understand why something was needed. So they would always say to us, like, no, Mama, but this doesn't make sense, let's do that. And very often they were right. And we made that change, if your child doesn't want to listen, you can ask, like, why don't you want to do this? What is the trouble with it? Maybe the child has a very good reason or a good idea of how they could do something different. So I think conversations are very important. I think if we do this blanket, like, I'm the parent, you listen to me, it creates a lot of control, a lot of strain. And the more dialogue, the more openness we can have to say, we're not scared. We want to listen to your opinion. We want to hear what you've got to say. it creates more collaboration. It creates more sense that, okay, we're both in it together, and you can say, I have this need, you have this need, what can we do together? Even if they're 3 years old or whatever, they can explain in very simple words, mama wants to sleep, mama needs rest, you want to do this, what can we do? I think simple conversations, even at a young age, help the child to see that you want to involve them and you're not just imposing something because you need it and you don't care about their needs. And I think also just one more example is like, when they wanted to do something that we couldn't let them do, for example, like they wanted to tear my book or something, I would always meet their need as well. So I would say, look, you can't tear this book, but here's an old bunch of newspapers you can tear, or you can't bring this muddy water into the house, but I'll come to the garden with you. We can take the bucket out and we can have lots of fun there. So when the child knows that, okay, they can't do this, but you are not totally negating their what they need. What do they need? You understand, and you're also trying to make an effort to meet their need. It also helps a lot.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Should we carry on, everyone?
Venu Karthik, you can ask.
Okay. Should we take one more question and then carry on with the presentation?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, one question is there from Venu Karthik ji.
Yes.
In the chat box. He's saying they hired a babysitter for the safety of the kids, but now the kid is having having animosity towards the parents, citing lack of love and affection towards the world. So how to repair that relationship?
Why are they having animosity? I doubt the babysitter, unless they don't like the babysitter and they're unhappy to be left with the babysitter. Otherwise, I don't see how they would have animosity towards the parent because they're spending time with someone else. So there must be some other reason, I would say.
Yeah, Venuji is there. You can unmute and speak.
Venu Karthik. Sir, you can unmute and ask your question. Venu Karthik.
Okay, let's continue the session then.
Okay, all right. You can come back to that later then. Okay, so I wanted to go to the topic of learning. How does learning happen? So for our boys, because they were unschooled, they weren't even homeschooled, everything was play, free play. They just played and played and played all day long. And we had conversations in nature, and we had a shared life. We cooked together, we swam together, we did simple travel, we socialized with people. It was all the stuff that happens in life. We just did that. But a lot of that time was free play. And we were really amazed. I mean, there are lots of books and really, really interesting writing on the benefits of free play for developing confidence and mental development and also emotional well-being. And we were really amazed to see the impact of free play on our children. So there's two kinds of learning, I would say, generally. One is to learn something that somebody else already knows, and so you're learning it from them, right? So someone who knows maths, you want to learn maths, you go to them and they teach you maths. So that's one. Or someone is a classical dancer and they teach you how to do classical dance. So that's learning from someone who knows this subject already. The other is learning how to learn. And I think when you're playing a lot, you figure things out. You see children all the time figuring out how balance works, or how to walk, how to crawl, how to talk. This is figuring out. This is what I'm calling learning how to learn. And because our children had so much free time, they actually learned how to read on their own and write on their own. They developed a high level of chess playing just by playing games, a lot of games together. They learned how to do music, how to play the piano keyboard just by listening to the notes, and they learned how to play it with the black keys, with the white keys, with their eyes closed. They would just play and they would learn so many things. They learned swimming on their own also, just by feeling the water out, feeling what floating feels like, what the pressure feels like, and what it means to swim. So seeing the way they learned so many things was really amazing to us, because we hadn't considered that so much learning could happen just by playing. And they did role play and they created their own games, and there's a lot of confidence that comes through discovery and through realizing that, okay, I can figure something out. There was a sweet example actually of when they were working in a circle garden. They were doing some farming with some other children, and they had grown some papaya amongst other things, and there was a big storm and the papaya tree bent and kind of was almost broken. And, the farmer, this friend of ours, he came and he told him that actually papaya trees are very weak. And so if it's bent like this, it won't survive. So just leave it, But these children were so attached to this papaya tree. They didn't want this thing they'd planted to die. So they put some bricks around it and they tied some rope and they watered it. And actually the papaya tree did survive and it grew papayas. So the point is not whether the papaya tree survived or whether it grew, but this feeling that when someone tells you something, we don't blindly believe it, but we think that, okay, maybe I could try it some other way. Maybe there's some other possibility. That kind of confidence that comes from figuring things out, I think is a very powerful kind of learning. And I think the importance of free play and for children to be creative and to have their own time is really underappreciated, I feel, and undervalued. Here are some of the benefits of free play. Okay, one is creativity, self-confidence, thinking skills, problem solving, emotional resilience, self-regulation, being with mistakes, and no boredom. So I'll talk about a few of these very quickly. Obviously creativity, right? You're trying out new things, you're playing, even role play and stuff they would do. Like often I would see them with their little, pretend stones or little pieces of toys or something. They would be playing out what happened the day before, imitating the landlord or having little conversations and trying to make sense of it. There's a lot of quite complex things that happen when children are playing on their own. And even when someone gave them a game, for example, they would just start playing the game. They had no idea how to play. They hadn't read the rules, and they would create their own versions of the game. And after some time, when they were done with that, they would sometimes say like, yes, okay, so what did the rules say? Like, how do you play the game? So that level of, being creative was amazing. The other is emotional resilience, right? When you're trying to do something, you have to keep trying. Like you're building a block, it keeps falling. You're trying to find a different way to do it. You learn that, okay, things don't necessarily work out the way you want to immediately, but you stay with something because you're interested. You carry on doing it. You focus on it. You give it some, time. So that's also something that comes out of that. And I think one of the two biggest things for me was like, one is being okay with mistakes. I think when you're learning something where there's a right and wrong answer, then, and often as adults, we don't like when we say, oh, this is wrong or this is not right, But when you're a child trying out something, mistakes will keep happening, right? You're trying to ride a bicycle, you keep falling. And if there's no adult actually who's saying, oh, you fell, or oops, this is a mistake, or, you fell while you're trying to walk. If no one is trying to make a big deal of mistakes, then you become very easy with mistakes. They become a very natural part of the learning process. And you're not scared of mistakes. You're not scared of making a mistake. And I think that's something very, very important because, if we're scared of making mistakes, we can't learn and we can't try things out. So once children get scared of making mistakes, it really hampers their understanding and their confidence in life. The other thing is boredom. Our children never said they were bored. They didn't even know what it meant actually. And I feel like a big part of that is because we didn't entertain them. We didn't structure their time. We didn't tell them what they should do. So they didn't expect somebody from the outside to tell them and to entertain them, to fill their time, to give them something to do. So they were always doing their own thing. And I think often I would see them, they would do some activity or they were playing a game or something. And sometimes they would stop. They might lie around. They might look out of the window, stare at the clouds. They might be thinking what to do next or thinking about something they'd done already. I don't know what was going on, but they didn't. And then they would move on to the next play or the next thing that they were doing. But what I noticed is it was very seamless, this thing between activities and just being quiet and waiting and then going to the next thing. But they never came and said like, what should I do? Or I'm bored, because that wasn't a thing, right? And I think boredom or being quiet and being with something and not having your time filled by someone else all the time is also something that's very powerful, I feel. And this is what I feel was one of the results of not dictating our children's time and not structuring it for them. So the next topic, brief topic, is praise and rewards. So like I said at the beginning of this talk, that this Yakana tribe didn't use praise and rewards bringing up their children. And there's also beautiful writing about how powerful and damaging praise and rewards can be, right? Most of us would agree that, okay, blaming, criticizing, shaming, these are harmful to the child and we shouldn't do them. We know that. But many would still feel that, okay, praise and rewards are something that's kind, that's encouraging, that's helpful to the child. How will they know what they're supposed to do, right? But actually, research has shown, and I've seen it myself, that praise and rewards actually create a dependence on getting validation from outside. So in the short term, yes, they can make them do what we want to do, and they can even seem to be encouraging in the short term. But long term, I feel a whole dependence on external validation, external approval from others comes about. And that I feel is very damaging. And I feel like we didn't give that to our children. We didn't use praise and rewards at all. So they don't have that dependence on doing things to please someone else. They do things for other reasons. And, I'll go into that a bit more. So here are some of the costs of praise and rewards. Actually, if anyone's really interested in the subject, there's an excellent book called Punished by Rewards. It's a beautiful book by a man called Alfie Kohn, and it's well worth it for educators or people who want to go more into the subject. But the cost of praise and rewards, it creates a dependence on external validation. We're always looking for someone else. Did someone like what I did? Is someone okay with it? Do they think I'm good? Do they think I'm, doing it well? And because it creates dependence on external validation, it reduces what they call intrinsic motivation. By intrinsic motivation, I mean doing something because it's interesting, because it's meaningful, because maybe it's helpful to somebody else, or you can see the sense of it. It helps to look after yourself. It helps to build a skill. There are all sorts of internal reasons for trying something. And those reasons become very much reduced when you become so dependent on getting approval from somebody else. It also reduces creativity, performance, learning, and exploring new things. When we get so used to just someone saying, very good, shabash, well done, you're doing this so well, then we become so dependent on that praise, we stop exploring new things because we say, okay, let me stick to this thing that gets me the reward, that gets me the praise. Something new I try, I may not be so good at it. I may not get that praise. So we become very much more squashed in our lives, much more reduced in our life, in our living. It also undermines interest, learning, participation, doing things for meaning, and collaboration, right? Because when we want to do something together, like collaboration again came from right in the beginning of the talk, that we want to work together. But when we are so hungry for praise ourselves, then we want to get all the praise for ourselves. We don't want to collaborate and work together. It leads to competing, and it creates insecurity. Because if someone praises me today, they say, oh, look, what a beautiful picture you did today. I start feeling insecure, like, oh, what if they don't like my picture tomorrow? What if they don't like the way I dance tomorrow or sing tomorrow? Will they not give me this praise? So then always achieving and always doing something that gets you this approval and not knowing whether you can do it or not creates a lot of insecurity. And of course, competing with other people because you want all the praise and you don't want somebody else to have it. It also reduces, of course, peace and well-being, right? Because it's not very relaxing to realize that the control for our well-being is in someone else's hands, in the hands of somebody who will approve of us or not approve of us, will validate us or not validate us. So this is actually a huge cost. And for us, I realized that it didn't make sense. So we didn't do it. And I feel like it's really helped. Like our boys, they come and tell us everything about their lives. Sometimes they might come and say, today I played really well at tennis. I hit such good shots. And the next day they might come and say, today I couldn't almost hit anything. And I played like this. I played so badly, whatever. And both times we listen with interest because we enjoy them sharing their lives with us. And we don't need them to achieve anything particular to earn our love or to be deserving of our affection, right? So I think this is a very strong message. And in fact, I feel like even as adults, like a lot of us who've grown up with praise, I know friends my sort of age who are really good at so many things, but even if they do something amazing, until someone says, we like this, or you get some approval for it, that experience is not complete in itself. And like, I don't find that in our boys at all, because they aren't used to that. So they don't go around trying to show people what they can do or anything. They just share for the sake of sharing. And also, they're also very easily appreciative of other people, because they're not insecure in that competitive way. So when they see somebody else says, oh, that person plays really well, or that person was running so well, or that person's so strong, whatever they want, they appreciate quickly and easily, because they're not competing for approval. I sometimes say, that if we keep giving praise and approval, we make them sort of emotional beggars in a way, like, with our little bowl saying, please approve of me, please validate me, because I don't know who I am without that. And I think that's very sad and damaging. So we didn't do it. So lots of people ask, like, oh, if we don't give praise, we don't give approval, then what do we do? How do we give attention to our children? Because we're not used to that. We're so used to saying this is good, this is excellent, this is nice, this is bad, So I say that so there are many other ways. So you can give appreciation, you can give gratitude, you can just be interested. You can observe, you can be curious about what they're doing, you can listen deeply, and you can be present. And in fact, all these things are much more satisfying. It's like if I give this talk to you all and you say, oh, excellent talk, I really liked it. I won't feel so good as if when you give me reflections about, what you found interesting or what you learned from it or how you listened, that's much more gratifying for me. I'm much more interested in that. So one way to say, is to appreciate or to be grateful is like, thank you for washing the dishes, this afternoon, because it gave me a chance to rest. And I was tired and really was very helpful, right? So thank you. It's like if a friend washed dishes for you, you would say thank you, right? You wouldn't say, well done, you washed the dishes so well. You wouldn't say that, right? You would be grateful. So in the same way, we're grateful to them. And also when we show them that why we appreciate what they did, what is the value of that, it also creates that what is their role in our lives. It also helps them to understand that, or appreciation, things like that, or interest, and saying that, I love listening to you play the piano. Could you play me another song, please? Or, I love watching you paint. Or sometimes if a child comes to you with a picture, they might show you a picture they've drawn and they say like, look at my picture, mama. And instead of saying, oh, lovely picture, beautiful picture, that's what we normally do very quickly. But instead of that, you could look at the picture. You could say like, oh, what's happening in this picture? Tell me what's happening in the picture. Or, maybe you can, what gave you the idea to make this scene? Or, or observe something like, is that a cat you've drawn in the tree? Or I see this little thing which reminds me of, my grandmother's house. Whatever it is, like observe or be curious about things, ask questions, or you can just listen to what they're sharing. And sometimes you don't have to say anything. You just be with them present and enjoy what they're sharing with you. That's even enough, actually. Listening to them without being distracted, just being present with them. These are very deeply satisfying and healthy ways of giving attention without praise. So while on the topic of attention, I want to say a few more words on it. So to put it very simply, like give attention when the child asks and protect their solitude when they don't ask. And often I see like parents doing the opposite. When I've worked with some parents, they often do the opposite. So when the child is quietly doing something on their own, which is also very important, how to manage yourself, how to manage your own time, to focus on yourself. It's a very important thing to learn. But most of us, we interrupt our children when we're doing that. So when the child is building bricks, we say, oh, look what a nice tower you're building. Or, oh, look, you're watering the plants. I can see you're doing this. Or look, you're running after the cat. Whatever it is, we keep making observations. And the child is not asking for our attention. Actually, they're quite engaged. And that solitude is very beautiful and very important. And we often interrupt that. And on the other hand, when the child comes to us for attention, when they want to talk to us, when they want to share something, at that time, so often we're distracted. We're on our phone, we're in a conversation or busy working. So what I would say is that when children, especially when they're very young and they can't wait, even if you can take a few minutes out when they come to you for attention, give them your full attention. Listen to what they're saying. They're so eager to connect with you. They're eager to tell you their story, what happened outside in the garden with the cat, with this, with that, with a friend. Listen to them with understanding. Listen to them with joy. Like be with them. And when children start feeling that, okay, they are your priority, you enjoy listening to them, you want to be present with them, that need of theirs becomes very they're very filled with that having that need met. And so then they become very relaxed. So as they get a bit older, if you have to then ask them to wait for a minute or wait for an hour or sometimes wait for a day when they're older, then they're able to do it easily because they still know that you are interested in them, you enjoy them, you want to be with them. And I think when children are very young and their need for attention is neglected on a regular basis, children start feeling very insecure. Sometimes they resent guests who come to the house. They resent you talking to on the phone. Some kids will start pulling the phone away from their mothers or fathers. Some kids will start, getting angry or more throwing tantrums when people visit the house. And these are all reasons because they don't feel that their attention or their need for attention is secure, that we will meet their need. When we feel that when I can want food, I can get food, I don't start, pulling food from other people's plates or starting feeling anxious. So it's the same with attention. So I would just say give attention when the child wants it. And when the child is enjoying their little focus and their quiet solitude, let's protect that space. The next thing I want to talk a little bit about is physical and emotional hurt, right? Children will get hurt physically also and emotionally also. So first I'll talk about the physical hurt. So what we did with our children is we stayed calm and we were supportive. And whatever's happening and whatever the child feels when they get hurt, we don't again minimize and we don't exaggerate, right? We don't dramatize it. So say the child has hurt their knee or they've got a cut or they've, got a bruise, whatever it is, and they've come. So often the children will not need to cry. They will be fine. They don't even need any attention. But sometimes they do, or they're crying. They're saying, "Oh, it's really hurting," And then you can be with them and you can say, "Yeah, I can see that it's really hurting you, and I'm here. I'm here for you." And just stay calm. And often they go through that thing and they're fine. But what often we do is we firstly exaggerate. We say, "Oh no, you got hurt. This is so bad." We hit the floor. We say bad floor, or, silly old wall for bumping you, or, poor you. There's so much blood. You must be in so much pain. So we don't see how much emotion the child is feeling and just respect that. We exaggerate it, or we do the opposite. We minimize it. We say, "Oh, nothing happened. It'll be fine. Don't worry. It's nothing. What's the big fuss? Why are you crying about a small cut like this? You're overreacting." So that is minimizing their emotions. So both these are very disrespectful. So we didn't do either of those. We were just with the children in a calm way, and they really were good at being hurt. And if they cried, they cried. If they were quiet, they were quiet. But they didn't. We didn't kind of rattle them more. And we definitely didn't ask, like, "What were you doing? How did you get cut? Why were you running so fast? You shouldn't climb this place." Because also when you're hurt and you're in pain, the last thing you want is either a lecture or someone to exaggerate or pretend nothing has happened. So none of these things we did, and it worked really well. And I think they're very good at being very robust, in dealing with lots of things, because they were respected, and what they felt was respected. Yeah, it was appreciated. They felt safe to be however they were being, without feeling that I have to be brave boy or strong girl, or whatever. So they didn't have to do something different from what they were doing and what they were feeling. So what we did is we were present and we responded to the child's need as the child needs. So I'll talk a little bit about emotional hurts also. I will go into that much more later. But a little bit I want to say is that, when we get emotions, and this is something I was very amazed to find with my children, like even when they were little babies, a small baby with a small face, and when they're crying or they're upset, they're fully crying. Their little face is open, it's red, and it's crying. But at that point, they're not doing anything to distract themselves. They're not looking for the chocolate or for the remote control, or, to see something. How can I get out of this emotion? They're fully in the emotion and they're crying. And when they finish crying, they're fully done and they move on without any guilt, without any shame, and with no residue. They suddenly laugh easily or they relax. So I saw this and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Even this small child who's going through so much emotion is not trying to distract itself, is not trying to stop the emotion. And so at that point I realized, like, wow, this is something that's not inherent in us. It's not something that naturally exists, this urge to distract and move away from pain. It's something that we are taught. We learn through the way that our adults are with us, right? So normally what happens is, say I'm having a big emotion, or the child is having a big emotion. He's very upset, he's crying. If I'm also shaken up at that point, and I'm trying to distract the child, I'm saying, "Don't cry, here's a chocolate, look at the bird." The message the child gets is like, I'm having this strong emotion that I can't deal with. But my carers, my parents, they also can't deal with this. They're also shaken up. They're not happy seeing me like this. So I'm not supposed to be like this. I shouldn't be like this because I'm upsetting my parents. I'm upsetting my carers, right? So then they learn to suppress. And later in life, many of us will find that we either overeat when we're upset, or when we have negative emotions, what we call negative emotions. We eat, we watch something, we distract ourselves, right? We don't want to be with the feelings. And children really are very good at processing those emotions and moving through them if we are with them in peace. I sometimes think it's like, when you go to a doctor, for example, and you've got a cut or you're not feeling well, and if the doctor is very calm with you and says, "Yeah, it's going to be okay. It's going to be fine." The doctor's calm. He looks at your cut. He's not getting emotionally rattled. Then you feel you also calm down. You also feel reassured that, okay, whatever's happening, I can handle it. My body can handle it. It's not a problem, right? But if the doctors tomorrow started getting agitated, shaken up, and started saying, "Oh my God, oh no," something, then obviously we would get much more agitated, right? Even this doctor who we're going to for safety, even he's gone, he's shaken up. So it's the same with our emotions. And so when we are calm, we show the message that it's okay. You can have these emotions. I'm there. I support you. I'm with you. You're safe and you can handle it. So I think that really brings a lot of emotional resilience in the child. And I think this is true for all sorts of problems or hiccups they go through in their life, showing them that actually that we don't have to make it like the end of the world. And yet we respect that this is happening and it's important for you. That also we have to, so both have to happen at the same time. And I think that really helps. So then I just, move on to something kind of related a little bit, but it's like sibling disagreements. Sometimes siblings or even friends or whatever, you were going to have times when they don't agree or they want different things. So the way we dealt with them is we listen to both of them and we never take sides. If you take sides, basically, it causes more tension between them because the one whose side you take feels like, oh, I am the victim and I need to be saved. My mother's coming to my side. And the other one is seen like the bully or the perpetrator and they feel wronged and they feel isolated from each other and it actually causes more disagreements and more arguments and more fights along the way. So I feel this really worked like magic for us. Like if I listen to both children, and I can give you a simple example of, say, when they were small and one is playing with a toy and one wants the toy. And they come to us and, one is saying like, look, I've been waiting for the toy for so long. I really want to play with it. And he's still playing with it for so long. So I would listen patiently and I would say, yeah, I can totally understand. That toy looks so interesting and exciting and you want to play with it. And you're finding it hard to wait, aren't you? Yes, I'm finding it so hard. And he's had it for so long and I should surely get a turn right now. You say, yes, I know you want a turn right now. You don't want to wait anymore. I totally understand. So you validate whatever they're saying. Then you listen to the other one. The other one will say the opposite. He'll say, look, I'm having such a good time with this thing. I haven't finished what I'm doing. I don't want to give it to him. I'm still using it. So I can say, yes, you're really finding it engaging to be with this toy and play with it more, and you want more time with it, right? So basically, whatever they both say, you just keep listening. And soon what you'll realize is because you don't put your masala, you don't put your exaggeration into the story, they really start to calm down. And when they calm down and they finish saying what they want to say, they move on. And I think this does several things. When you listen to both sides, the other person is listening to you, listening to their brother. So you're modeling what it is to listen patiently and with understanding. So they get to have that also happen. That's one. Two is that when they feel that you're not making them compromise. So when you try and fix a situation, you make them both compromise a little. So what happens in that process is that both feel that I have been shortchanged. Something has been taken away from me without my permission. So both feel unhappy. So this is not justice. Justice is when both sides feel okay. And so when you listen to both, they would always calm down. And then when they were done with their emotional charge, one would say, okay, let me play for 5 more minutes. I'll give it to you. And the other one would say, okay, I will read my book for that time or something. So it would always work like that. But if I forgot this thing and I started saying, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? They would both dig their heels in and become more strong in their own positions and didn't want to meet that. So I found this very interesting and very, it was very dramatic, the difference between when you let them fix their own problems and when you try and rescue them. You're doing it kindly. You want to help them. You want to end the argument. But you have to let them feel it out, calm down, and actually on their own come to their agreements. And they do. And actually, most of the time when they figured it out on their own, we didn't even interrupt that process. We didn't say like, why don't you stop or why don't you do it this way? We would let them figure it out if they were, And one day, actually, I saw them arguing about something for quite a while and I was doing something else. And I think I was distracted. So I just said quickly, like, can you guys just sort this out? And they turned to me and said, Mama, we are sorting it out, just not in the way that you want us to, So I think we have to be open to our children and to also their wisdom and what they're doing and understand that, when we try and impose, when we try and be impatient, when we want things to go our way, rather than what suits everybody, we damage a process of co-living, co-learning. Yeah. And I think this trust to empower them to find their solutions, because they do and they can. And the more we let them do it, the better they become at finding that solution and finding a way. But if we keep trying to solve things for them, then what they learn is that, if I have a problem, I quickly go to my mother and she will do something, and actually one of us will not be happy. And, when you take sides and sometimes it happens even like there's an older sibling and a younger sibling. The younger sibling may, without knowing better, just, bother the older one, and the older one gets unhappy and shouts at the younger one, or he might give him a whack or something. And you take the side, you immediately go and say, oh, the poor little child, and you start shouting at the older child. And this is a pattern that often happens in families. And what it does is it makes the younger child, which he didn't feel before, it makes him feel like, oh, look, the mother's rescuing me. I'm, special. She's taking my side. And the other one feels unhappy that they've been rejected. And so the younger one sometimes can start to use that later to get the side of the parent. They will do something even deliberately later to bother the older child. Then the older child will react, and then you will say, okay, this is how I can get my brother or my sister into trouble. So this can cause a manipulation. Whereas if you do it in this way, you don't give a chance for manipulation to happen. And you treat them both with respect and with care. You're being patient to both, whether they've done something harsh or whether they are being at the receiving end of it. Both ways, you are really respecting and still staying affectionate and understanding to both. And I feel this is very important. So with emotional resilience, sorry, are you saying something?
So Vidya, can we take some questions now? We have
Yes,
15
sure.
minutes left. 15 minutes left.
Okay.
Quite a bit is covered, I think, now.
All right. I can take some questions.
Yeah, I think if anybody has questions, they can raise hand. We will go in sequence. Anupama, you can coordinate.
Yes. Prachi, you wrote in a chat box, na?
Okay. I was just wondering, we were talking about siblings and how important they are, like it is to have siblings and how much they share together. So my question was more around how important it is to have a sibling, and nowadays sometimes it's not a choice, you have a single child. So how does it affect it, and how strongly, like how to work around it?
So, I mean, actually, when we had our first child, we really wanted a second one because we have enjoyed having siblings, and I wanted them to have a sibling. So I think there's a lot of value in having a sibling, but I don't think it's not like you have to have one and you can't work around it. I think, if you have community around, even good friends are fine. I think it's okay. I think there's something beautiful about having siblings and growing together and sharing the same parents and things like that. There's a lot of something nice to walk together with a sibling for your life is quite a lovely thing. But it's like it's not like the end of the world. If you don't have a sibling, you can do other things, and you can still make really good connections with other people and learn to do that. So I don't think you have to have a sibling.
Thank you.
Arpit, you can ask your question. Ritik.
Yeah. Hi. I literally enjoy whole the session. Hi, Pinky Didi. Actually, lots of things come up on the surface. Like, I'm not a parent, but as a child, lot of stuff is coming up, like childhood traumas or everything, like the lack of attention, the care, acknowledgement, which I needed. And they're just popping up a lot. So I'm just getting insights to resolve them. Like I literally want to get better at it, to release that tension which is going on.
Right.
So if you can suggest some ways for that, or is there any way to connect with you, like for the future sessions or something? I would love to connect.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I feel like for me, that whatever was done to me that I didn't feel was so good for me, even though I basically know that most of us, I mean, all of us actually as parents, we want the best for our children and we try and do our best, but we have our own hurts from the past. We have our own triggers. And so often we're not able to do that. We don't have the right understanding. We don't have, the wisdom. And often if you don't have, like, even if you want to parent your child with love and respect, you don't know what it means because what's been used on you has been the same method of control, of force, of punishments. So it's like if I want to speak in French and I don't know French, if I open my mouth to speak, what will come out? English only, right? So it's the same way. If we haven't learned another way and our parents hadn't learned another way, they would have done the best they could. So when I saw that clearly, then the pain towards my parents is not there, because I don't realize, I know that they didn't mean to hurt me. They were doing the best they could and they didn't know. So just like you would understand a child or a friend or anyone else doing something wrong because they don't understand, if we start to understand, I think a lot of healing happens, because we realize that they're not doing it because they didn't accept us. They didn't know what acceptance was. They didn't know how to be with us in a way that was accepting. So I think that really helped me. And I think exploring that further. And I think when I had children, I could also see how difficult it was. If you hadn't learned another way, the same voice of your parents or your teachers or whatever pops out so quickly. It's amazing. So I think that's why we took a very slow parenting journey to realize, like, actually, what am I doing with my children? Is it making sense? Is it good for them? How will they feel? So I think these questions come about if we put attention on that process. So, and our parents didn't know there was something better to do or different to do. So they did that. And, they also did many lovely things for us, which we appreciate those. We also realize that, they fed us, they clothed us, they tried to take us out, whatever. So you can see that they were not trying to reject us. They were trying to do the best for us, but they made some mistakes because, it was difficult for them in some other ways.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Okay. Sri Lalita. Ma'am, you can ask your question.
Is that Srilata?
Okay, Sri Lata, sorry.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for this lovely session, ma'am. So my emotions are like happy. At one point I felt very sad also, because I did not had when my child was, I did not had this information when my child was young. But thank you so much. At least I got this now. I have one question. My son is 13 years old, and I feel that the communication and sharing from his end has come down. If I compare like 2 years back, there could be many reasons. Probably my attention was not that proper, or my husband's attention was not that proper when he needed. I don't know, many things. He's also occupied with the screen and other things. But now what I'm doing is I keep asking him to share anything. Anything. He says there is nothing that has to be shared, and he shares only when he feels okay, when he finds the environment right. Is that okay to ask him, or what do you suggest?
I mean, you can ask for sure. Instead of saying share, you don't have to tell him to share, but I would say more like, when he does share, say when he's in a mood to share and he shares with you, you can be appreciative of that. You can say, I really love it when you share your life with me. I love listening to what you're saying, and when we learn to listen to our children without, commenting on what they're saying, in the sense we don't say like, oh, this is right or this is wrong, or I would have done it this way. Like, we just really listen like you would listen to a friend. I think that gives children a feeling of safety, of security, that they can say more and more stuff to us, and we don't judge them. We don't try and correct them, because I think it's so easy for us parents to realize that when a child says something even interesting, we want to add more information to it. We want to show what we know. We want to teach them something. So we don't really listen just to enjoy their sharing. And I think the more we can do it in a peaceful way, and maybe make little outings where you can go with him for a walk or for a swim, do something he would like to do, have more connection time so that there's more chance for sharing to happen, rather than demand he shares or ask him to share when he doesn't want to share, because that might put pressure on him. You don't want to put pressure on him to share, but you want to create an environment where he is feeling easy to share, and you can also share things with him, simple things that he would be interested in, about your life, about your feelings. Be vulnerable with him. I think that creates also a bond. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Sri, you can ask your question.
Yeah, ma'am, this information about praise, the harmful effect of praise, that was very revealing. So where I'm having a difficulty is, encouragement versus praise. So we always heard that we should encourage the child. So sometime in the form of encouragement, probably we are, praising which is not needed. I'm not able to still draw a line. I mean, what we would consider encouragement. For instance, suppose he has cleaned up the room on his own, okay, and it looks really nice. So in that case, how we should tell him?
You can just appreciate it. I would just be thankful. I would say, look, actually, the room, is so you've tidied up the room so neatly that I really like. I like to live in a room that's orderly, and I can find things easily now, or I feel like I can relax more easily in this room. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. Like I wouldn't say, like very well done. You've cleaned the room so well. It's more about thanking them and about appreciating, being
Yes.
grateful for them.
Okay, seeing the value.
Seeing the value.
Yes.
Because I think
Okay,
also
okay.
when we see the value of what we are doing, it makes us want to do it more. If someone is just saying
Yeah.
it's good or not, then we don't really see why is
Uh-huh.
it good? What is good about it? It's good because it's helping my mother to find things around the place, or she feels easy about inviting guests to the house, or whatever the reason is. Just express the reason for it. Like I always gave things for a reason, like why I appreciate something, because I feel like when you appreciate it and you give a reason, it creates a clarity in them. It also helps them express things more clearly in their own speaking when they speak. And also, when you want to later express something to someone else or show your kids tomorrow or something, you will also understand what is the cause and effect between things. Why we do certain things is important to understand. So I think bringing that in with the gratitude is quite, I find it useful.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Santosh Kumar, you can ask your question.
Ma'am, so I have two kids. So one is 8-year-old, the other is 4-year-old. So they keep fighting for small things. But my question is when to get in between and resolve the issue, or leave it to them, let them resolve at some point. Maybe like sometimes we leave it to them. Again, like after some time, they'll come back and resolve themselves. But uh, like, what should we do? Like, is it right to get in between, or just stay away, let them resolve?
Right. So I feel if they're resolving it in a way that's kind of reasonable, then you can leave them. But I think also one of the problems with us as parents is we don't realize that young children left alone on their own for too long a period isn't really sustainable. Like they haven't, even adults sometimes can't, older children can't be with each other for so long. So, to be in peaceful relationships, you have to have a certain capacity. And I think children need a break from that. They also need some guidance or some of our own participation. So sometimes I feel like children play together for some time on their own happily, and then they start finding it hard. So I think sometimes we have to realize that we don't let them have such long times without us involved, especially at that young age. 4 is very young. So, maybe they can't handle so much time on their own. So that's something you could also see too. And the other thing is when you feel that their fights are becoming too much, or one is getting very agitated, you can also come in politely and say, actually, is there something you need? Can I help you? You can also ask that politely, and you can also then do what I said about listening to both sides. And I think that will often help to calm them down. So yeah, that's what I would do.
Sure, man. Thank you.
Yes, R. Name was not written. Yes, sir only. Sir, you can ask. Or madam, I don't know. Yes, R.
Yeah, this is Swati. Hi, Pashwa. It was really
Hello.
lovely to hear everything that you've shared. Actually, I have a reflection because I did have some questions. And then, as I was listening in while you were speaking about acceptance and allowing, and I think as I had the questions, one of the things that kept coming up was I get these things as individual, like, they're all coming from essentially a certain space. And that space within me then would be a space of presence, of allowing. Like, like where does this, I just thought it'd be interesting even for you to reflect, or rather share, instead of all the different ways, because that can get to a point where, yes, with regards to praise or reward, whether it's regards to how they're spending, how we bring in attention into it. And then, yeah, when I step back into it, I think one of the learnings or unlearnings that I have had to do is get out of self-judgment. So that helps me not being judgmental about how things are, what's going on, then be allowing and accepting of myself. And that's what allows me to be accepting and allowing. And so, yeah, it just made me reflect at that, to come back a step further in and just look at what is the space that can allow all the things, all the beautiful things that you've been sharing, that are possible through presence and being there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree with you. Sorry, are you finished? Are you saying something more?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just saying it'd be nice for you to reflect on that aspect of, the base, the foundation from where what this presence and everything else can emerge, basically. And the journey that we're all making to,
Right.
yeah.
Definitely, I totally agree. I mean, I think the more, whole we feel within ourselves, and the more we accept ourselves and our journeys, the more capable we are of being present, to our children and to everyone else. I totally agree with that. But I also do feel that, even if we're trying to be present, sometimes we don't have in our toolkit different options because we've only had a certain habit or pattern. So even if we want to do something differently, without some ideas, without some, some detailing of these different aspects, I think it's not always easy to recognize what we're doing even sometimes. So I feel like for me, I found it very helpful to hear, how can I reflect on it in different aspects to be able to change some habits that might become a default. So yeah, I think both are useful maybe.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to hear more examples because those are making me reflect back into this as well. I mean, it goes hand in hand, and
Yeah, absolutely.
this is helping me reflect on that as well because, and I really loved listening to the examples that you've given. I personally also, enjoyed regarding screen time. All the examples, all of them are very helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Swapna Obul Reddy. Swapna. Ma'am, you can ask your question.
Yeah, audible, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So, ma'am, this is my second question. Like I said, we have a single child. He's 6 years old. So he's quite energetic and happy. And, he's a fellow with deep thoughts, actually. So, but when his cousins who are from abroad, they come once in a year and live with us for a month or so. He has about 6 to 7 cousins. So he becomes very possessive about his toys, not sharing them. He has frequent fights, arguments, and there are some provocations also to get attention, etc. So while this behavior doesn't happen with his friends, um, so we as parents, how much ever we want to be open and fair about such incidents, what happens is certain point we end of the day turn to our child and tell him to back off. So my question is, ma'am, how to resolve and help my child uh, come out of this? I don't know what it is, but yeah, I would want to see my child come out of this because he's missing out on good memories with his cousins.
Right. I mean, I think two things. I don't know what the cousins are like, but I think even with something like sharing, for example, like we cannot impose a child to learn to share before they're ready to share. So I think when a child doesn't want to share and they're his toys, I think rather than forcing to sharing, he should feel safe that he doesn't have to share if he doesn't want to. And you can still, if the cousins are sad that they're not being shared with or whatever, maybe you can find some other toys, or you can have a bunch of toys which you give when other people come so that they can play with those toys, right? So I think to force your child to share if you force your child to do anything because you need them to share, because you want them to have a good memory with their cousins, which I totally understand, you want them to, but by trying to force it before he's ready to have that good time through his own balance and understanding is actually going to make his relationship more difficult, and he'll be less inclined to be with them in a peaceful way. So I think when you respect him and make him feel safe that yes, he can be with them in the way that he needs to be, and if he doesn't want to be with them, you don't force that either, because none of us like being forced. I think sometimes we have such a strong memory such a strong desire in us that our children should fit in, they should be this, they should have good memories. I think these are all things that we want, but we are short-circuiting what the child's readiness, and I think that comes at a cost. So I think you don't tend to back off, like, unless he's being violent, then even if he's being violent with the cousins, you obviously move him away. You don't let him be violent, but like you hold him. You can say, look, I can't let you hurt anyone else, but I'm with you, and I can see that you're feeling strong emotions, and I'll be here with you, and you will learn at some point to balance your emotions. But till then, I'm still here with you. So your voice is always warm. You're always affectionate. You're always accepting them. They don't feel like you're pushing them into a corner or you're angry with them. You understand that, okay, they can't share yet, or they can't be with their cousins in this way, but you're not rejecting them. That thing of rejecting and accepting, which I talked about right in the beginning, that has to come through all these times when we don't say, okay, now they're behaving so badly. At this point, our acceptance falls down. I think we have to find a way to do it where the child is still respected regardless. And even if they can't do everything, of course they can't do everything they want to do, but you have to still respect them and still show that you still care about them. You're still friendly with them. Your tone is still warm. You're still cuddling them. You're not, so you may hold them because you can't, you're restraining them in some ways, but you're still being kind, and you understand if they're shouting, they're throwing a tantrum, you're still calm with it. You're saying, I understand. I understand sometimes it's frustrating to play with some people when you haven't learned to play yet in that way, or whatever it is, in your own language. I'm giving examples of, just generic examples, but you have to find your own genuine voice that is still understanding and accepting of your child.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Ma'am, so this doesn't happen with his friends. So, so maybe we were trying to find a logic, me and my husband. Why does it happen only with his cousins and not with the friends?
See, I mean, I don't know the reason because I'm not there, but the few things I can think of is, one, maybe his friends are, have a different kind of culture. And maybe the ones who come from abroad may have a different culture that he finds difficult. That could be one option. The other thing could be that maybe you also giving the cousins more attention. And, like when they're in the house, maybe he feels that your attention goes to them in a way that, it doesn't go to their friends. Or, maybe he sees that you're so keen for him to get along, and that causes him some insecurity or anxiety, right? With his friends, you might not be so anxious that he gets along and has good memories, good times with them, right? So your anxiety around that maybe makes you behave in a way that's less respectful, that's too overpowering, and he's reacting against that. That's also quite likely.
Okay, ma'am. Yeah, we will think about this. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, you're welcome.
Anusha.
I was just thinking, actually, if I can finish the rest of this, because then the people who need to leave can leave. And then those who want to stay on and have more questions, I'm still around. So can we just finish it? Because otherwise I won't be able to cover everything.
Yeah, that's fine, I think.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I will take the other questions, but I'll just carry on for a bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Anusha, you can ask your question.
I was thinking I would finish the presentation now, and then I would take the questions. Anupama.
Okay, ma'am. No problem. Anusha, you can ask your question later.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure, I'll ask later, yeah.
Okay. So, so with emotional resilience, what I found is, like, I would say, don't try and change or fix others for your child. I never try to fix life for them. I feel emotional resilience comes from realizing that you can handle anything. And otherwise we make them very weak. We make them into a victim. But we can be supportive, we can be understanding, and we can trust their capacity. So, like even with, in the village when the boys were playing with some children, at some point, a couple of children called them like dirty foreigners. So they came back to us and they just told us, like, Mama, they called us dirty foreigners. So instead of saying like, oh no, that's terrible, or how bad they are or something, I just said like, oh, what do you think about that? And they just thought about it for a while, actually, because I wasn't already making them feel like there's something to feel bad about. They thought about it and they said, well, sometimes he said we miss a bath or two. So sometimes we are dirty. And I guess in this area, we are foreigners. So I guess in a way it's true, and they laughed and I laughed and that was the end of it, So if we don't make them feel like something to feel bad about, then they don't necessarily feel bad about the things that we think they should feel bad about. Another thing that, another thing that happened, actually, very kind of, it's an interesting story that, children find their own clarity when we don't interrupt their process. So once in the same village, actually, there was a child who they used to play with. And sometimes he would cheat in the games and stuff, and they would just decide not to play with him. And they would leave him, and they would come back and say, he's cheating and we don't want to play with him. So I would just say, okay. And I didn't say like, oh, you must go and play with him. Or I didn't go and tell the child, you mustn't cheat or whatever. You must play nicely. So I didn't fix anything. I would just respect their decisions. And then later, often they would say that, but that boy is quite lonely. He doesn't have other friends to play with. So he and his brother would decide, let's go play with him, even if he cheats. And then they decided on their own, and they would still play with him, even though he was cheating, because that's something they came to, right? So they adjusted for a lot of people. And even today, they're very adjusting with lots of people of different kinds, because they have not been forced to do it before they're ready. And so one day, this child actually, he came with a jar of insects, because he knows both our boys really don't like anything being killed. So because they weren't playing with him, he came with this little glass jar of insects and started squashing the insects in front of our children, because he knew that would bother them and would upset them. And of course, it did bother them, and they came very upset. And my younger son especially was really upset, and he was really crying and saying like, these poor insects are dying, and this boy is an idiot, and I want to hurt him. And so at that point, if I'd said something like, of course you don't want to hurt him, or it's not nice to say that, he would have felt I'm taking that child's side and not understanding him. So his thing of I want to hurt him is coming from anger and frustration. So all I did was, I can see you're very upset. I can see that you were really sad to see the insects die. He said, yeah, I was so upset. Those insects are so innocent. They haven't hurt anyone. They don't deserve to die. It's not fair. So he went on talking very excitedly. And I was just very calm with him. I can see how upsetting it is for you. And yes, the insects are innocent, and you don't feel they should die, and blah, blah. So I just kept validating his experience. And just by hearing him and not trying to change his reality, he started to calm down. And we were on a porch in the balcony looking out at the mountains. And, he started sobbing less, and he stopped, and he lay in my lap, and I was just stroking his hair. And for a long time, he was totally quiet. And he was looking at the clouds, and he'd become calm. And then when the calmness came and he felt I wasn't trying to change him, he became so calm. And then he sat up at some point, totally happy. And he said, Mama, if that boy thought the way I did, he wouldn't want to kill the insects either. So maybe he doesn't understand. So I don't want the insects to die, but I don't want to hurt him either. So he came to that clarity, to that understanding, to that compassion for that boy, which would not have had a chance if I had interrupted that process and said, no, the boy is nice. No, don't think about him like that. You mustn't think violent thoughts, blah, blah, blah. We interrupt that process, and we don't give the child clarity and understanding to come out. And I found this so many times with my children, that so much clarity comes out when they're calm. And, my son has even said to me, both our sons, he said, when we're calm, we know everything, they said, and I'm sure that's not true, but they have the sense that actually they can think more clearly when they're calm. And I think it's very true. When we're agitated, we say all sorts of things. We also know that for ourselves. But if we take that seriously and start, telling them no and do this and do that, it interrupts their own process. So be supportive and understanding and trust their capacity, but don't try and change life also. And I think that really helps to create emotionally resilient human beings who are then able to be caring with others, empathetic, and still be strong in their own confidence that they can handle things. And another thing I want to talk about quickly is cooperation without force, right? People say, like, if I don't have rules, I don't put punishments, if I don't do this, that, how will we get cooperation? How will we work together? So I feel there are many different ways. One is giving information, like why is something needed? Like if I told them, like, if you don't clean your teeth, then, you get little cavities, like I could show my teeth and it causes pain and you've got to go to the dentist. So that's why it's a good idea to clean your teeth. So they made them clean their teeth because of that reason, and have dialogues, make requests. I would love you to do this. Would you be happy to do this? This is the reason. Collaboration, again, is another one. Like we think together. We say, look, I need this. I would like this to happen. And you would like this. How can we meet both needs? So actually getting the children to think about this makes them own the process, makes them feel that they are part of it. I felt like we were just like four friends living together. Maybe they were younger, they had less experience, but all our opinions, all our needs, they all mattered. It was not just like, oh, we do everything for the child and, our needs are not met. We put our needs also. Of course, when they're very young, they can't meet our needs. But at some point, as they start growing older, we can see that we're four people. This is what it takes to run a house. This is what it takes to live together. Can we find a way to understand all that? And even with discussions and dialogues, I would sometimes ask, if we couldn't agree on something, I would say, like, what would you do if you had children who wanted to do this? What would you do? Or what do you think I should do in this situation? Because, this is our situation. What do you think we should do? And they would often come up with answers. And when they came up with answers and suggestions, they're much more happy to do it because it's something they are coming up with. So I think this creates a lot of peace, and cooperation can come about. And of course, patience is important because they don't immediately come to everything. They might take time to emotionally, update themselves or to recognize that this needs to happen. They may not be able to come onto same page immediately. So it takes some patience, and we have to keep it simple when they're very small, and it becomes more complex as their intelligence, their understanding, their emotional capacity develops. If we expect children to do more than they can do at a certain age, then it causes stress. And how do we know what is too much for them? When the stress comes, we know that we're pushing it too far. So we have to wait. Like when you got babies, we don't ask them to wait 10 minutes before we breastfeed, right? We give them the breast immediately. So in the same way, when that capacity increases, we will see it increasing, and we can then, work with that. So yeah, that's like how to get them to do things together without using force and, struggle. So the last point I want to make now before I end is this formula actually by Naomi Alder. It's a very beautiful formula for when we parents get triggered in a situation with our child, how can we handle it? So I just explain this salve, and then I want to read a couple of examples, of how she does it, so that it can give, or how some people do it, to give you an example of how it's done. So the first is of salve is silent self-inquiry. So what happens when we get triggered with our children? Usually it's some old pain or some old assumptions or some old beliefs that are popping up, right? We sometimes, like our child is doing something, our voice in our head might say like, I've told him so many times not to do this. He still hasn't learned. Or my child will never learn this. Or by this age, he should have understood this. Or, he's just doing it to annoy me. There are all these different voices that come up in our head, and they're not true. And they cause us to be angry and upset. And then it comes out on our children. So what she says is the S, and that's the most difficult part of this salve, is to first do your self-inquiry in your mind. Like silently, you look at your thoughts in your head and you see, are they useful? Are they true? And usually you will find they're not true and they're definitely not useful. So you let them, put them aside for a moment, and then you're calmer, and you can then turn your attention, which is the A, towards your child to see what is the child going through, what is the situation? Are they upset? Are they, scared? Whatever. You can see their body language and what's going on. And then you listen to what they're saying. They'll be expressing something. They'll be expressing fear or anger or, whatever it is. And you listen to them deeply. And then you validate. Validate means whatever they're going through, you understand. You meet it with understanding, that I understand that you're going through this, basically. And then when you understand what they're going through, often they come to a space where they're empowered, or you help them sometimes to empower them to resolve the situation for themselves. And if they need your help, they're small, you can also help them. But mostly you get them to a place where they feel powerful enough to resolve the situation on their own. So I'm going to just read you 2 or 3 examples quickly, and then I will end. So I'll move this. So 9-year-old, actually I can't see the thing because the bar is in the way, but I'm going to try. 9-year-old Clint was crying because his sister Joy wouldn't finish playing Monopoly with him. I want to finish the game. I was so close to winning, he cried. Ella, their mother, was ready to enforce justice, but she took time to separate her personal reaction from her children's dispute and run her own self-talk silently in her mind, the S of salve. She imagined herself yelling at Joy, calling her inconsiderate and unkind, and ordering her to finish the game. Then she examined the thoughts in her head, and it was clear to her that it was not the truth. Her daughter is not unkind at all, and her ability to assert herself is a good thing. She was then able to let the thought be and move on to giving attention to Clint and listening to him. So you were very excited because I can't read that, because you had a chance to win. Are you disappointed that you didn't get to finish the game? I am mad. I want to finish the game, Clint insisted. I hear that you want to finish the game, and Joy won't play. I was so close to winning, and that's why she stopped, Clint said. Ella kept validating and listening, but not changing reality for Clint. She empowered him by not getting involved in fixing his reality, as though she was saying, I hear you. I don't see a problem, and I know you can handle it. After a while, he was done and started a different conversation. Clint was heard. He felt connected to his mother, who had validated his feelings and repeated the facts based on his perception. She did not add drama. She did not mix her own emotions or opinions. Her trust and consistent presence made it possible for Clint to move on. So that's one example. Another one is when Adi worked in the yard, his 5-year-old daughter, or 4-year-old daughter, I can't read, Ruthie, went inside and poured herself a glass of milk. Some of the milk spilled on the table and the kitchen floor. When Adi came into the house and saw the spilt milk, he was ready to burst out with, "Why didn't you ask me to help you? You know you can't do this by yourself." Instead, he took a deep breath. He noticed these words pass by silently in his head, the S of Sal, and that they were not useful to him. He then turned his attention to Ruthie. He realized that she had been trying not to disrupt his work and was pouring herself a glass of milk without his help. He came closer and said cheerfully, "I see you had some milk all by yourself." Ruthie responded, "Yes, and some of it spilled." She looked up at her father with a questioning look. "That happened to me the other day at Grandpa's," he said. "I spilled juice. I felt clumsy, but Grandpa smiled and gave me a towel." See, it's easy to clean up. Ruthie ran from the kitchen and brought a towel, which she handed to her father. It was not the kind of towel Adi would have used to clean the floor, yet he accepted the towel with a smile and cleaned up the milk. I'm going to read this one. I can read this one. I'll just read this last and then I'm going to finish. So when Matthew entered the living room, he found 6-year-old Adya trying to put, this is one for those whose children have started to lie, because this is about lying also. So this is how we can help them to correct that. So when Matthew entered the living room, he found 6-year-old Adya trying to put together a broken vase. She seemed nervous. "It fell by itself," Adya said, without looking up. Matthew pondered what to say. It was a beautiful vase they had received on their wedding day from a dear friend. Feeling confused, he bent down and started helping his daughter in her impossible mission. After a minute or so, he said, "I don't think we can put it together." Adya stopped and burst out crying. Realizing that she was afraid to tell the truth, Matthew reassured her. "This could happen to anyone. The other day I broke a lens of a camera." Adya looked at her father. Feeling partially relieved, she said, "I didn't know that plant was so close to it. I pushed it aside to make room for my doll." "Oh, I see. And the vase fell off the shelf," Matthew said calmly, and added, "Were you afraid that I would be angry at you like I was the other day?" Adya nodded. "I wish I wasn't angry then, and I'm not angry now. It was a nice vase, but I love you more. I want you to feel safe to tell me what happened." "Dad," "Yes, Adya, let's get the broom," right? So if you realize that actually if you have been shouting, if you made the child feel unsafe, then you need to make them feel safe for them to stop lying and to feel that actually they can tell you something and you're supporting them to change it, and you don't distrust that actually they deserve anger and they deserve your your wrath. So I'm just going to quickly recap some of the quick main points, and then I'm going to open it up for anyone who wants questions. So in closing, I would say, one is put the relationship first. Affection, trust, respect at all times. Warmth, friendliness, generosity are signs of this. Model the qualities you want to see in your children. That's the only way they're going to learn. They actually learn what you model more than they learn what you say. If we are shouting at them, we're forcing them to do things because we want them to do something. What they actually learn is it's okay to shout and force someone who has more, less power than you. That's what happens all the time. People hit their children hits the younger brother hits the dog. It's like, that's what we're teaching them actually. So if we want to model the qualities we want to see in our children, then we have to, pull ourselves up to that level. I say sometimes, like, treat your child like an honored guest or trusted friend. So suppose you had a friend come over and they were having a glass of water and they dropped the water and the glass broke. What would you say to the friend? You'd say, "Oh, don't worry, it's so fine. Accidents happen. Let me help you clean the thing. Here's another glass of water." We still be warm with them. We trust that they're not doing it deliberately, right? With our children, often we do something totally different. We try and teach them a lesson. We try and say, you were not holding the glass carefully. Now look what a mess you've made. You should be more careful. Now you've made the mess. You should clean it up, right? So we disconnect our relationship to them. We don't trust them, and we're trying to teach them something, but we've hurt the relationship in that process. Free play is an important aspect of growth and development. Try to avoid creating dependence on praise and external validation. Instead, nurture with warmth, attention, deep listening, interest, and curiosity. Don't try to fix the world or all problems for your child. Instead, create a safe, calm, accepting space where they can feel and express all their emotions and thoughts, move through them, and become capable and emotionally resilient. Respect doesn't mean the child can do whatever they want. No one can. But it does mean we create a safe and loving space for them to express and feel all their emotions. This builds emotional maturity and balance and resilience. It allows empathy, care, generosity, and intelligence to flower within them. I just want to end with a quote by Naomi Alcott, which I really love. She's saying, if we don't water a plant if it flowers, we water it so it flowers. So that's what I feel love is. Love is not a reward. It's not a reward you get if you behave in a way. It's the nourishment in the soil that is there so our children can flower and bloom into their best versions of themselves. Thank you.
Any questions?
I can stop sharing now.
Ritik, you can.
Yeah. So, first thing I would like to connect with Pashwa, ma'am. So, ma'am, if it is okay, you can share your Insta or somewhere to connect with you. So that
Sure.
would be useful. Other thing I would like to ask, is this session recorded and is it available after the session to revisit it?
I think it is recorded. I believe it's being recorded. Yeah, I think it'll be on YouTube probably, and you can access it. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Just let me know how to connect.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
I will share my details in the chat. I mean, in the group, so you can have that. I can share these slides as well and anything else you want. So yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Welcome.
Some other, I forgot her name. Actually, she's asking question. We stopped her for the.
Anusha.
Yes.
Yeah, hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Thank you for the great session. Actually, I wanted to ask regarding, so my son is turning 5 this September, and he's a very temperamental child. So I have been into learning from child psychology books from John Faber or the brain child books, and how to understand him better from where he's coming. So we have always been respectful. So we don't intervene him, like how you mentioned. He's playing on his own. He used to hit others, but we would understand from where it's coming. Like when they would pull the toy in his defense, he's doing it. We taught him how to control that temperament and everything. But one thing that we are not, we never insist. I am silent spectator here, but I wish he would play more with others. It's not that he's not social. He's a single child, so like you mentioned, we always make sure we are with friends and families with the same age group kids,
right,
so he can get along with everyone. But unfortunately, it so happens that he just goes say hi. He says hi to everyone and plays for like a minute or two. That's it, and then he comes back to me somewhere around me. He's with one toy and he's playing on his own or exploring around. He is not doing anything. So is that okay? He is never so like all the other kids are running around playing some games by themselves, but he is not involved with them. He is in his own world, and sometimes it bothers me. Like the other kids are all playing together, they're building something and all, but he is just exploring and on his own or on the floor with a toy, or he's not very social. So what about it? Do I intervene or do I let him take some more of his years for him to socially mature, or how to be about it?
Right. So I think to answer that question, like firstly, I would say that he will socialize when he's ready to, and trying to get him to, because you want him to socialize or you're anxious about it, which I understand. But actually, when they take their time, they socialize in a much more well-adjusted way. And I can give you a story about my two sons. They had a very different way of socializing. So my older son would, if he saw a bunch of kids playing, he would run in immediately. He didn't know what game it was. He would just join in and figure it out. And my younger son would sit next to me on a bench and just watch, right? And at that point, I never told him that, why don't you go join? Don't you want to play? I didn't say anything. I just let him sit next to me. And I didn't know what was going on, but I knew that he's choosing not to play. And I don't Why should I value that someone who joins in is better than somebody who's sitting and watching, right? And then slowly because I didn't say anything, I started noticing what's going on. Like my oldest son would figure it out while he's playing, and the younger son would be watching the other children play and how they were being with his older brother and what they were doing. And he was observing what is the dynamic, what are the rules, how do people interact. And when he felt comfortable, at that point, he started joining in, right? And he's very social and he's very easy with people of all ages because he wasn't pushed to do something before he's ready. And I think that's not just with socializing, it's with everything. I can give you another example where we went to Goa once, and I was very keen for them to go to Goa because my husband and I love swimming in the sea. And we went to the beach, and my older son went into the water with my son, with my husband, and the young one sat next to me, and he saw these big waves, and I think he was a bit intimidated, and he didn't go in. And for 3 days, I sat on the hot beach with him, just playing on the sand and wondering if I'm even going to get to go into the water this trip. But then, when at some point, the water came into we were digging a pond with a little, mud and sand and everything. And then the water came into this pool and filled the pool with water. And he started playing in the water. And then suddenly he felt like water is not something so scary. And then he suddenly wandered off into the sea when he was ready to. And he joined my husband and my son. And, he's very confident in the waves in the sea. And he loves playing in the water. So I feel like when we don't respect the child's readiness, actually they become more clingy to us. They become more insecure because they feel like, actually, I'm not ready and I'm being pushed to do that. And I know that in myself also. When I'm not ready to do something and someone's trying to push me, I actually feel I feel more insecure and less like doing that thing. So I feel like children have their own timeline. And, we have this thing that, children by this age should do this, they should. I think if he's respected and he feels safe with you, and actually a lot of children enjoy being with adults who are respectful and caring with them. They don't feel okay with going for kids who don't understand them, who don't know how to play with them in the right way. So I feel they sometimes take time to do that. But when you give them the time, he will, I'm sure, develop these capacities. And, if you're social, if you're relaxed with other people, I think all that will actually model something of how to be. And he will learn that through that. I would be patient and wait, and I wouldn't rush it. I don't think there's any more value in starting early to socialize rather than later.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pasha. That was wonderful. Maybe I'll just wait out and, give him some more years for him to just understand and realize his own role. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, welcome.
Deepa.
Hi, Pashwa.
Hello.
Pashwa, my question is related to this point you made on you mentioned that when let's say the child is helping you with something or is doing a task, like if the room is suddenly cleaned very well, or he's done the dishes, you probably say thank you to him. And I align with you when it comes to, when you talk about treat your child the same way you'd probably treat another visiting friend. But tell me, how do I, at the same time, there is also a thought that how do I make sure that the child understands that this is not a favor, or this is not something that they are doing to help mom. This is also as much their house, and this is also as much their responsibility. So, to basically make sure that they don't think that each time they're helping mom and all the work belongs to mom. So how do I make them understand this, at the same time also expressing my gratitude for the work done?
I still, they still thank me for making the food sometimes, or, we still thank each other, even though we are responsible for the house. We still appreciate, like, when we're taking care of each other, when we're sick, or when something is done. Even today, when they sweep the floor, even my husband does something, I still value what he's doing. So I think thanking doesn't mean that they're doing it as a favor. It just means, see, we all have a choice, and we're all doing something, even if it's our responsibility. We don't have to do it. Actually, nobody has to do it. And the fact that we are doing it still deserves gratitude. So that's one. And two, I think if you're grateful to them, they will, at some point it becomes clear that, we are all doing this together, and we can have that discussion. But I think when they're very small, I wouldn't bring that in. I mean, I don't know what child your age is, but for us, it came up as a discussion, like, okay, what can we all do in the house? Like, these are the things that need to be done. So not like, oh, this is a favor, not a favor, but we just brought in the topic at some point when we felt that they were old enough to take that kind of responsibility on a more regular basis. when they're very young, they can't. They mop the odd floor, or they might, wash the odd dish. And at some point, they're not going to do it in the same way as equals. But later on, they can. So when they're ready for that, and you feel they're ready for that, then we can have a conversation around that, which we have had with our boys, and we all have. We all divide the different things that have to be done in the house, and we take responsibility for those things, and so I think that will come in, and I don't think this undermines that. Personally, that
You're saying programming gratitude in this, kind of example also. Programming gratitude is not going to take away from them understanding their responsibility.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah. In fact, also like with gratitude, I feel like, when we talk about respect the children, another point I want to quickly make is that, we never made our children feel like, we never said to them, please say thank you, say please, say hello to someone. We never did that, because again, you would not do that to a friend. Like I wouldn't tell my husband, oh, please say hello to someone or say thank you, right? So if someone gave our children a present, for example, I would look at that person and smile warmly and say thank you so much, right? But I wouldn't tell my child, oh, say thank you. And the child often is very thankful because the eyes are bright and they're looking very excited. So they're showing their gratitude in a different way. But when we don't tell them what to say, then when they get older, they say thank you because they've learned from us, and they say it in a genuine way, not like a parrot who says, say thank you, say I love you, say I miss you. All that stuff is, I don't feel is respectful. And where the child feels that actually I don't know what I'm supposed to say. That trust in themselves get very much, because we are impatient for them to learn all these things. And often it's because we as parents feel, we are also dependent on this validation from other people. They shouldn't think I'm a bad mother. They might think, I haven't brought up my child to be polite. So we have all these messages going on in our minds, which we then put on the child to compromise their own sense of well-being and trust, self-trust, by, forcing that. And I think that's a good example of why we shouldn't depend on other people for validation and praise, and just see what makes sense for our child.
Right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? If I may not call you, please, you can ask. Maybe sometime I didn't see, or I missed some name. Please, you can unmute you. You can ask. I think no more questions.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Ashwa,
you.
ma'am.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
I have a lot of bulb-on moments. Yes, ma'am. I have 2 kids. I have a lot of moments on while this section, and thank you.
You're very welcome.
I think this is not from the theory. This is from raising your children and the society. You with where you lived and practiced, na? You learn all those things. This is not from the theory. Exactly, not from the theory. Thank you. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
You're very welcome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. It was a great session.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Pashu auntie.
Oh, hello. How are you? Thank you. You're welcome. Nice to see you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Rajesh, I think can we stop the recording and close the session?
Yeah, okay, sir.